If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
This is a More Than Just Podcast production.
Welcome to this podcast, Season 8, Episode 15. My name is Dimitra. I am in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm joined by Jonathan Kuline in Lawrenceville, Bristol, New Brunswick, Canada.
Hello there, kids.
And we're also joined by Jaime Lopez Jr. in Seattle, Washington.
How's it going?
And, just before we start off, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thursday.
It's the best Thursday of the year.
Yeah, it's Thursday. Thursday when we have leftover chicken and fries and broccoli.
Isn't it something else somewhere else, though?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Right.
Oh, it's Friday in Australia already, so.
That's true. Yeah.
Very true.
That's true. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what they're
Thanksgiving?
dancing around. In the USA, it is Thanksgiving Day.
Is there things to be thankful for in the U.S.?
I'm thankful for my Cowboys defeating the Chiefs. That's
that's football,
good.
Right?
Yeah, we got football. We got full slate of football. And football tomorrow,
started
too.
Last week, though, didn't it? Something?
I had to endure my Detroit Lions, who were decimated with injuries, getting beaten on their home turf, which was not as fun to watch.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about any of that.
Get a team. Pick a team, man. Pick a team.
Pick a team. Toronto Maple Leafs? No?
No, okay. You want to try and pick something that's going to win from time to time.
Yeah, actually, I heard somebody said something on a sports channel today about the fact that there was nothing happening, no hockey games or something on today because it's Thursday.
Yep, no basketball, no NBA basketball, and no NHL hockey. There is U.S. college basketball today. So,
okay, all right, okay. Good thing they've got their priorities straight.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let's. We didn't have any fact check. I guess I didn't find anything wrong with the last recording.
Or we're awesome. One of those.
One of the two, yeah. But it's probably not the first one. Or probably not the second one. So let's just head over to the headlines and dig into some Star Trek news.
Yeah, we actually have some interesting Star Trek news. So we got news from the good folks at Deadline that, for the 16th time in a row, the good folks at Paramount have found a different person or persons to do the Star Trek movie in the theaters. So after the long gestating rumors that Quentin Tarantino was going to do it, they were going to bring back the cast with Chris Pine and all of them to do more. Now they've hired a pair of writer-directors who actually have some pretty good bona fides to come in and work on this new version of Star Trek. So John Francis Daly, who is probably best known as the kid who doesn't say anything in the movie Waiting, and who is also on Freaks and Geeks, and Jonathan Goldstein, his writing partner and directing partner, have been brought on board by Paramount to do a new take on Star Trek for the theaters. They have not announced many details, but apparently, according to this article, they are going to do a completely new take. It is not connected to any previous or current television series, movie, or prior movie development. They are going to start from scratch, which is both good and bad, depending on your perspective, and we can certainly discuss that. But these two had previously worked together as writers. They had written Star Trek. They had written Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I think we all enjoyed. They had written the latest Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, which actually I was pleasantly surprised by how good that was. And yeah, they've got the big tag now, so they're going to work on not just writing, but writing, producing, and directing the new Star Trek movie.
Cool.
What do you think?
Okay.
I mean, they definitely have. They have they have some credibility behind them.
Yeah, the Dungeons and Dragons, that was the one with Chris Pine as well, right?
Indeed, it was.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's some good resume here, so I'm excited for that. But since it seems like this is taking kind of a hot potato, I'm like, not feeling too great until they show us a trailer. Then it'll feel more real.
Yeah. Maybe cast some people, maybe film it. As you say, Jaime, it's been a long road. I mean, it's been a long time since we've seen a theatrical Star Trek movie, and I'm kind of conflicted. Like, I certainly enjoy going to the theater to see Star Trek movies, but also we've been kind of spoiled by having, the quality of television production has sort of escalated over the past 10 years it's been since the last Star Trek movie. 2 hours to tell me a story, unless it's something truly epic, it's challenging. It's challenging now. Like, I can't say if they announced they were doing another series, I'd be way more excited than if they're announcing a movie. I think that's just the reality now.
Well, the last movie was that Section 31 thing too, right?
Oof, yeah. I suppose that qualifies as a movie. I mean, that was the last movie. It was the last theatrical movie. Last theatrical movie, I guess, would have been Beyond, which your mileage may vary, but didn't knock my socks off my feet. I thought the use of motorcycles from the
I was going to say the
director who previously did Fast and the Furious was a little on the nose. Well, here's hoping. Again, I'll take a Star Trek movie, and these guys have written some good movies, so keep your fingers crossed. Speaking of revivals, Amazon is bringing back Stargate. They announced this past week that they are going to be doing an all-new series. This one a little bit different than what we just talked about. They are planning on having this be not a reboot. It is a continuation. And they're bringing back the original show creators and runners. So if you are a fan of all of the Stargate and Stargate spin-off series, this should be right up your alley, because they are very much going to be in the same vein as they were before, which is pretty exciting. I have not watched 1 second of Stargate
Really?
on TV. Not one moment of it. I enjoyed the movie, but not enough that I wanted to go down the rabbit hole with the TV series. And I know people who are watching it. It's I find it in that same category as like Babylon 5, where like the people who like it really like it, but not everybody seems to be lured in by it. Are either of you Stargate TV watchers?
I've only watched. I really got into the Stargate universe because the guy who played Bigsby was in it, and Canadian actor was the sort of captain thing, and it was kind of like almost like a Space 1999 kind of thing. They kind of got disconnected from the rest of the world, and they had to find their way back or something weird like that, and it was really good. And then they pulled the plug after like 2 seasons. It was like, what? And then I gave up, because I mean, that was the only Stargate that I kind of got into. I didn't really get into the SG-1. I'd flip by and watch it for like 5 minutes, and then Richard Dean Anderson and stuff like that, and I just kind of like I sort of flashed by, and I kind of kept up with some of the people that were in it, but I really didn't pay any attention, and it didn't really grab me at all, other than the Stargate universe thing. But like you said, I really did like the movie. I like the concept, right?
The concept was cool, and I liked parts of the movie, but ultimately it also was not the greatest movie ever. It was a great concept. It just never really caught on. Maybe they really did it up on the show.
Well, yeah, it's that whole sort of like Avatar kind of, military versus, some sort of weird thing going on. And they it seemed to me like, I don't know, I guess we'd have to get feedback from somebody who's actually watched it, but the taking that one guard guy and turning him into the sort of Worf character kind of seemed parallel to what they were doing on Star Trek, right? So yeah, I don't know, just never really got into it. And then the whole Atlantis, I guess it's underwater. I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Hi, Mary. You a Stargate watcher?
I enjoyed the movie. I never really got into the TV show, and I think you're right, Jonathan. It's kind of like some things like Babylon 5. I'm like, okay, cool. There's a fandom that enjoys it, but just wasn't for me. Not as a diss on it. I just never really got into it.
Yeah. Well, if you are a Stargate watcher and fan, and you want to tell us why we should or shouldn't care about all this, please join us on our Slack channel. We'd love to hear from you because, again, I've had people over the years try and convince me very hard to watch Stargate, Babylon 5, some of these different shows that are sort of just adjacent to the mainstream of sci-fi, and it's always interesting to see what people do and don't respond to. But I know there's a lot of seasons and a lot of different episodes, so that'd be a lot of back catalog if you wanted to go back and dive in. Okay, a couple trailers, three trailers to talk about this week. We got a more fulsome trailer for Project Hail Mary. I thought it continues to look great. It looked great from the first trailer. I really enjoyed the book. I couldn't be more in, and yet somehow after watching this trailer, I'm more in. Did either of you catch anything new or anything that changed your perspective on Project Hail Mary?
Well, we get to see more of the character who I would hope they had put into the trailers, right?
Well, yeah, that ship has sailed now. That since they decided to do that, like Rocky lives, we're out there. So
now there needs to be like a Happy Meal, right? Like you might as well just lean into it at this point. Let me have a Funko Pop and stuffed animal, a Labubu.
Funko
all the
Pop
merch.
of Rocky.
Yeah.
So it's cool that I mean, I really like the book too, and I kind of wondered how they would turn that, the whole waking up in the first, 3 chapters of him on the ship, kind of like gathering his faculties together to figure out what the hell's going on. That would I don't know how they would do that in the movie and how that would, even make like 15 minutes worth of screen time sort of thing, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they tell that story.
I like the way they kind of flashed back to fill in the blanks, and then he kind of starts to remember things. I like that concept of it, and then the meeting of Rocky out there in the middle of nowhere, kind of thing. And I mean, thankfully they haven't spoiled the ending, right? So, and we'll see if they go that far with it, right? Kind of, it's got that 2001 Space Odyssey kind of ending, right? So,
and I wonder if it occurred to me, even as I was reading the book, it occurred to me, I wonder if this is the exact ending that they will use to in the movie version, because it doesn't end, I think, how a lot of people expected it to end. Jaime, I just want to clarify, have you read the book? I don't want to spoil anything.
No, I haven't. So it might have to be a little light.
I will tread very lightly, but all that to say is the movie and the book will take many twists and turns. But I think ultimately where the book ends, I think, is not necessarily where you would probably imagine it when you start at the beginning, which is a guy wakes up in space, does not know where he is or what he's doing there, and has to figure out.
Doesn't even know he's in space at that point. Right?
Yeah, like just sort of wakes up and goes, what's going on? So, and I agree with you, Tim. I think the narrative, the way that Andy Weir tells the story of he's in this perilous situation in space, and then he starts having these like memory glimpses that come back, and so the way the story is told is basically chapters go back and forth in time, so that you're kind of unpeeling the onion as you go. I think that would make for a really interesting movie style, but will they tell the story that way? I don't know. So
yeah, well, I mean, most of his books and movies have been his first 2 books were very linear storytelling from the beginning to end, kind of. Yeah, and this is kind of like bouncing back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he did a good job of it. I think it's really well written. It definitely felt more like The Martian and less like Artemis, but it
definitely has his voice in the writing, right?
Yeah, very much so. You will definitely have vibes of like, shouldn't Matt Damon be in this role? Yeah. Well, it looks great. I'm in. I might even make a sojourn out to go see this one in IMAX or something, just because it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like it looked visually spectacular. It could be definitely for sure. Yeah.
The next trailer up was Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping. So this is the second in the prequel series. that have been coming out over the past number of years. I enjoyed the Hunger Games movie series. I actually enjoyed the books as well. I didn't read the first book of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, the first prequel book, but I did sit down and watch the movie and was actually pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to, because it flashes back to basically when the President's Snow, who is played by Donald Sutherland in the movies, when he was a younger man, and sort of goes back and tells his origin story. Here, we're jumping forward even from that, so it's like a huge another time jump and stuff like that. But it looks pretty good and epic. This one tells the story of the Quarter Quell, which is the one where the Woody Harrelson character from the movies, Hamish, is actually in the games. So we're going to see a young version of that character. So, the first one was kind of the origin story of President Snow. This one seems like it's going to be some of that. They've got there's.
So is it fit between the first prequel and the first movie sort of thing?
Yeah, so this is part of they're doing a trilogy. Suzanne Collins is writing a trilogy of prequel books. She's got the first two out. She's working on the third one right now. So then they're going to do film adaptations of that. So there'll essentially be a trilogy of films prequeling the Hunger Games films. But they do fit in pretty nicely. I enjoyed the first one more than I was expecting to. I was kind of like, oh, well, But then that was the same mindset I went into watching the first Hunger Games, because I'd heard of it. It had become a bit of a phenomenon in the YA world. I was aware of it, and it didn't really click for me. I didn't go see it in the theater or anything. And then I saw the first Hunger Games movie. I was like, actually, this is pretty darn good. And after that, I made a point to go into the theater and see them, and quite enjoyed them. Again, Jennifer Lawrence doesn't hurt. She's a terrific performer, so that helps a lot. But I must admit, I saw this trailer, and again, it looks pretty of that world. And if they're going to do some world building that is not going to suddenly conflict with what we already know, then I'm in. Again, I still don't know that I'll go see it in the theater, but I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, I don't know that I can't remember if I watched these in the theater or not, or if I just waited for them to come on TV, but I haven't read the books. So
yeah,
unlike Harry Potter, where I actually, because we had a young lady who was obsessed with Harry Potter when she was living here going to university. So we all started reading the books, and then the movies came out, right? So
yeah, and they're definitely not as overstuffed as the Harry Potter books. They're definitely a lot less dense. But they're quite actually, they're certainly not written to, they're not meant to be high literature. They're not, super complex, but there's certainly good character development and definitely well written enough that you want to read along. But they're significantly shorter.
Does the prequel movie, does it explain the how we got here sort of thing?
Yeah, it's more about, it sort of delves back into, what conditions are like following, the uprising that, was the reason why they have all divided up into districts. And so you do get some good world building as far as understanding sort of how you get to where you're at when the revolution comes in the Hunger Games movies. It plants the seeds of why these people would want to rise up against the system that has got them down, including the one that requires them to give away their children and kill them. So
yes, exactly. Yeah. Cool.
Jaime, what'd you think of? Are you in on Hunger Games? Is that a thing for you?
The original trilogy or quadrology. I can't remember if they.
I think it's a quadrology. Yeah.
Okay, they split that last book into into two movies, right? Okay. I have seen, and I had to look it up. See, this is why George Lucas had it right. He said, "Here's episode 1." What do you mean 1? Wasn't the first? No. The first Star Wars: A New Hope was number 4, 5, 6. No, this is 1, right? So without numbers, you have to know that The Hunger Games: The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is essentially Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, right? And then this is what, Attack of the Clones. What is this? Hunger Games: Sunrise on the Reaping is what Jonathan's talking about. Yeah.
So this would be, this would be Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, this is Episode 2. So I saw the first one, Episode 1, I guess here. What did I just say? It was Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I saw that one on an airplane, and it was perfectly fine. Pretty serviceable. Does the job pretty well, while I'm eating snacks on an airplane. So it did the job well. I like Peter Dinklage as the first game master, game
designer.
Yeah. So it explained a bunch of like, hey, it's kind of clunky and they didn't really think it out that well. And so some of the things that are signature for like the Hunger Games first movie with Katniss, it's like, oh, okay, like, yeah, they've been doing it for what, like 70 years or something at that point. So they made it pretty solid and very, very much like, just pick a sport. Maybe for the NHL, I'm a little less clear how that was broadcast. But if you go watch like the first Super Bowl and then you watch Super Bowl 60 coming up, they are like not even close to the same kind of production value.
Well,
right?
Same. You could say the thing for hockey too. Like the hockey I watched when I was a kid, they had a whole bunch of different rules, right, than they have now.
Well, besides the rules, but just like
cameras,
I think there was like one camera for Super Bowl one. It's like, here, this is the view you get. There's no multi-zone. Oh, look, we can see like this guy making a catch, and you can see the cheerleaders behind, and then this angle is the drone angle. Like none of that. Yeah, none of the production graphics. And so the original Hunger Games from what did I just say it was? Songbirds and Snakes, something like that.
Yeah, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Yeah.
That one's kind of like Super Bowl one, where like, man, this is a real terrible home experience for people watching. Whereas by the time it gets to Katniss Everdeen, you have the equivalent of like Good Morning America or the equivalent show saying, oh, let's go talk to the contestants. Like it's just like Survivor or some other, TV show.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because this is again they're exploring the backstory for this character of Hamish, who is when we meet him in the Hunger Games proper series is disillusioned and drunk and lost hope and all this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see a younger version of him and why he was able to be successful in his games. The drawback obviously is that we know because it's history. We know he wins, but we don't know the how. We don't know all the dimensions. We don't know what he had to do, the sacrifices, all that stuff. So there's still enough there that it makes you want to go and sort of experience that. But like I say, is it enough to get me to a theater? Probably not.
Okay.
Looking forward to it on another airplane ride, Tim.
That's kind
of where I'm like, I will definitely watch it. I'm like, oh, look, Hunger Games. Let me go watch that one.
Yep.
Put it in the slot, but I'm not going to go to the theaters. I may not even watch it on streaming unless it's like, oh, okay, let's watch that this weekend.
Yep. And the last trailer we've got is a movie called Hoppers. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch this trailer. This is the new Pixar movie that's coming out in the spring. It's essentially it's a well-worn trope. The idea is that you can port your brain into another creature or an artificial being or otherwise. This is certainly a well-worn piece of science fiction trope. And in this case,
like being John Malkovich, okay.
Yeah, the hopefully not quite as heady as being John Malkovich, but the idea is that they can port your brain into a robotic body of an animal, and so this little girl gets transported into a body of a little beaver, and then chaos ensues. This looks delightful. I really got to say I enjoyed the trailer a lot. Again, will I go to the theater? Not really, unless my little cousins want me to take them or something, but I will 100% watch this when it comes to Disney Plus because it looks very cute. The animals versus the humans uprising stories, which we've seen in movies like what was that, Open Season, and some of those movies from the early 2000s are definitely always cute. I think this looks fun. What did you guys think of Hoppers?
Yeah, it looked interesting. They do actually mention Avatar in the trailer too, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, I think. Well, and again, surrogates, Avatar. Like, there's so many different times that this trope has been used, for sure. Yeah, Jaime, this has got Sunday afternoon laundry written all over it.
It does. I do wonder how this movie's going to do because the characters are pretty well designed. They're not quite unique enough that you would want if you were doing merchandise, but I could 100% see people having the different beavers, the bear and stuff. I'm like, okay, I got you. I can see the Happy Meal toys already. I can see the stuffed animals at the Pop Mart and Funko Pop shops. I'm like, okay, I got you. So we'll see how this does. It is kind of interesting to like think about if you took a movie like Avatar but made it Pixar, could we apply this to other movies like, Alien but Pixar? Just Friday the 13th but Pixar.
Yeah, Predator. You got to go through the full catalog. Yeah.
There you go.
And yeah, this next one I'm disappointed by. So Paramount has decided that in their infinite wisdom, under their new ownership, have decided to kill the in production Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, The Last Ronin, which is based on a terrific comic book that came out about 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, that was basically, what if there had been, some cataclysmic events in the Turtles universe and there was only one turtle left to go and continue the fight on behalf of his fallen brothers. It's a terrific comic book. It's only they did a 5-issue limited series. Kevin Eastman came back and worked on it, who's one of the co-creators of the original series, was one of the writers. They've since gone on to do a couple of sequel series, miniseries, which are also good. I highly recommend them as a read. They had decided that, that was something that they could pursue. They thought that, there was definitely enough interest there. And then now they've decided to reverse course because the folks at Paramount have decided they want to do something entirely different again with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. And therefore they are going to cancel the plans to do the Last Ronin entirely. And they're going to do some more other Turtles stuff. I don't know. I don't know if either of you have seen the one that they did in the mid 2000s, the rebooted one with Megan. What's her name?
Megan Fox.
Fox. Yes, Megan Fox. Thanks, Jaime. I watched the trailer and was like, I'm out. 100% I'm out. No chance. Not for me. It looked so absurd to me. And I have not gone back at it. I do not intend to go back at it. But I don't know if either of you have gone down that road, but it was not for me.
No, I've not seen the Mutant Turtles. I mean, I didn't even watch the latest. Wasn't there an animated one a few
I like those. Yeah, those are really good.
Yeah, I haven't seen those ones either. So
a couple of those on Paramount Plus, the animated ones. I did see the Michael Bay movies that you're talking about.
Yeah,
they are pretty much like Michael Bay Transformers, but Ninja Turtles in concept.
Yeah, I think I watched one of those. Yeah, and a friend of mine, or a friend of mine, was in the very first one that they did back in the 90s. I guess.
Yeah.
2000s.
Yeah. No, it would have been the early 90s.
He played one of the turtles.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Like I say, it's disappointing because I think I don't understand. I mean, I get IP, you don't want to destroy IP, but like, why can't both these things exist? I guess it's a limitation of money or whatever, but like these both could exist simultaneously and there would be nothing wrong with that. And yet they just,
they do in the comic book era, right? Because I mean, like what you're saying basically is that 3 of the turtles have to go for that one to sort of make sense, right? And I don't know, maybe the executives got nervous about like killing all 3 of the characters that have IP and they want to keep going with them.
Yeah, and again, but we live in an amazing world now, especially of all these, corporations that own all this IP. There's no reason. Did you guys ever see there was an amazing episode of Parks and Recreation where Patton Oswalt is supposed to be doing a filibuster? And he just starts talking about, like, because a filibuster, you're basically supposed to talk. As long as you're talking, they can't take you off. So he's doing a filibuster on the show, and he's trying to basically just continue talking. But it's Patton, and so Patton goes off on like how you could make the perfect science fiction movie with all the IP that Disney now owns. And he goes on, and on the show, it's like a few minutes. There is a 10-minute version you can see online where he's like, okay, so then Darth Vader shows up. And then Thanos is there, and he does like all this, like goes just off the top of his head to the point where when he was done in like on set, everyone clapped because they were just like, I can't believe you got through all that. We live in a world now where you can have all of it. There's no restrictions beyond cost. Obviously, they want to make things that are going to make money. for their theatrical productions, for their streaming productions, for both of those things simultaneously. But you could tell both these stories and do them well. But also, there's almost no limits now. Like if Disney next week announced, hey, you know what? We've decided we're going to do Aliens versus Predator versus Marvel versus, like insert ridiculous versus the Kardashians, we could do that. Like there's no stopping anybody from doing these things when you own all that IP, other than the creativity of the writers and the public's ability to accept what's happening. But if you said to me, like they've already said, Aliens versus Predator does not exist in the same timeline as Aliens or Predator, it's its own little thing. Cool. Then I want my Darth Vader versus Thanos movie, please. Like, let's go. Let's just, show me The Last Ronin and show me a new take on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And if I'm taking a young person, I'll have the brains to not take them.
How many Spider-Mans have we gotten? How many Supermans have we gotten?
And Batmans.
How many Batmans have we gotten? Exactly, yeah. They don't have to all be the same people.
I think it's a little short-sighted to, this seems like cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know what I mean? Like, why are we splitting hairs like this? Why does one have to not exist again outside of, hey, it costs a lot of money to make these movies? Anyways, but I digress. So all that to say, they're not doing that. They're also, they're also talking about whether or not they're going to continue doing the different spins on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that exist. We talked about the Mutant Mayhem world, the Tales of the Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was supposed to be a spin-off of Mutant Mayhem, was a TV series that's been canceled as well, which is a drag. So hopefully whatever they come up with is good, but I'll tell you, having read Last Ronin, it's going to be tough to be better than that. So we'll see.
Yeah. Now I need some pizza.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Last story of the week. This one is a good one for us to sink our teeth into. So, we talked about, we love a good amalgamation story here on Spotcast. We talked about, all these companies buying each other up. We knew this was going to come eventually on a lot of fronts because there just is only so many slices of pie and people don't want to have 27 streaming services. So, Warner Brothers Discovery is apparently up for sale, and there are 3 official bids that have been submitted to purchase said rights, which would include DC Comics, all of their movie rights. It would include HBO and all their content. Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix are the 3 companies that have submitted official bids to buy the assets of Warner Brothers Discovery. There are reasons to support and to not support each one of these things doing it, and there's a likelihood or lack of likelihood that some of these things will or won't exist. It's complicated because Warner Bros. Discovery is a production company as well as a distribution company, and it's important to know what you're getting into. Some of these places want one but not both. Some of them want both. It's just a matter of who's what and where. Comcast is interested in having the channels. They want to own, the HBO distribution channels, all those kinds of things. Whereas Paramount and Netflix would also like to have all the production stuff as well. But then there's monopoly issues. So they would have to go through antitrust discussions, and that involves Congress, which means you have to deal with the current U.S. government, which means you have to have a good relationship with them. And conveniently, Paramount does have a good relationship with the White House, so it is quite possible that they would be considered the favorites at this point. However, Paramount is also owned by Larry Ellison and run by his son, and they are, I would say, more aligned with the views of the current White House as well. So your mileage may vary, especially if you're a fan of things like, John Oliver's show on HBO and some of the things that probably wouldn't be extremely well received by a more right-leaning political perspective. So all that to say, this is going to be an interesting one to see if somebody can come up with the kind of money that we're talking about, if it needs to be split into different assets so that it can clear the sales hurdles and all that. But the bottom line for us as consumers is you might not need to have HBO Max, what's it called this week? HBO,
Yeah.
HBO to go, HBO on the rocks, HBO, The Search for Spock. I can't remember what it's called, but in theory, it could be integrated into something like Paramount or Netflix or if Comcast were to buy, again, it doesn't sound like Comcast wants all the assets, so maybe they wouldn't want the distribution stuff. They don't have their own streaming channel, but yeah. What do you think, boys?
Who are the players again?
Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix to buy all of Warner Brothers.
Really? Netflix? Wow.
And Netflix has never done this before, and noticeably absent from this once again are the good folks at Apple, who again could have bought MGM and didn't, so Amazon did. Here we've got again another opportunity for consolidation. So Netflix or Paramount could consolidate what they already have in very successful streaming services. Could you imagine if your Netflix content also included all the assets of Warner Brothers? That's a pretty powerhouse. That's there with Disney Plus, right? That's a pretty. That's a pretty epic amount of content.
That brings the DC stuff along for the ride, right? For Warner Brothers, I forget.
Sorry, it does what?
That brings the DC Comics stuff over. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You would, as part of this deal, you would be getting all the DC television and film rights, as well as the comic company as well. So yeah. But yeah, like when the list of assets here in this article that we've got linked in the show notes: HBO, HBO Max, TNT, TBS, CNN, HGTV, Food Network. Yeah, so like you're getting a lot of stuff. And again, it could be split so that, you know, one of these bidders buys chunks of this and then the other one buys chunks of that. And again, there's a lot of permutations of how this plays out. But this is even, I don't know, Warner Brothers versus Fox. This is a tough call. When Disney bought all the Fox assets, that was upwards of $60 billion, as I recall, was I believe what they paid. Now, I think they probably made that back on, Simpsons alone. But, I think, it really is it's tough to know whether or not this is going to be a good deal or a crazy deal. But either way, I mean, again, it could take a player off the board if, all of a sudden there's no HBO content on a specific platform. All of that stuff would have to go somewhere.
I think, well, I mean, based on what I've seen of the three companies, Netflix sounds like an interesting one because Netflix has a whole ecosystem that's unlike anything else, right? Paramount is more, I mean, they were a studio to begin with, right? Same with Warner's and MGM and all that kind of stuff, right? So them buying Warner's is kind of like consolidation, and I don't like what Paramount is doing, so generally these days, so they might just ruin it. And Comcast is like, that's sort of the Rogers of the United States, right? Like Comcast is your big media company, right? In the States, right? So it's kind of like, I mean, we had something similar to that in that Bell and Rogers here in Canada bought a whole bunch of different assets from like, is it CDTV they bought?
They bought the assets of what was the Moses'
CTV.
Empire.
Isn't CTV in there somewhere like that?
Well, CTV is Bell, but it was City TV, and it was all the subsidiaries of that. So Much Music and all those ones, all those cable channels and stuff that they bought up, and then they had to resell some of them to other ones.
Yeah, because there was like monopolies and it was unbalanced and blah blah blah, and the Canadian government stepped in and made them change, and it's a lot of things got lost in the shuffle too. Like a lot of good things got lost in the shuffle, and some things just died and went away, right? Rest in peace, Much Music. But mind you, that might have got killed by the whole streaming industry in general, right?
Much Music, MTV just died in the United States too, so.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same sort of thing. So, I don't know. They're kind of like the wrong ones. I'm going to talk about Apple in a minute because I did realize that I did have some fact check. I don't know. I mean, I don't look forward to any one of these. I saw Allison's name in the article. How was he related to this?
Ellison owns Paramount.
Oh, this is David Ellison. Is he the same guy that owns?
David is the son of Larry. Oh, and so David runs the company for Daddy.
Okay, right. Oh, yeah. So it is the Oracle guy, right?
Yeah, it's this. I believe he's the second or third wealthiest person on the planet, is Larry Ellison.
Yeah. I think he beat Musk for about a week a little while ago.
Yeah, I think that ship has long since sailed. But yeah. Jaime, are you? This I think would directly impact you a little more, given these are all American companies. So
how does the Comcast thing affect you guys? I mean, what do you think about that? Because I know Comcast isn't favored very much, right?
Yeah, you pretty much have Comcast with their Xfinity brand and Spectrum and maybe a few others that split up regionally in the United States. I think Netflix is my best choice here of the three. Having Apple have this would be better from, they have money and they're willing to let artistry win and not just cash in, But from the three, Netflix, I think, would be the best choice here of like, okay, I feel like they kind of know what they're doing. Paramount Skydance, Paramount was suffering and, it's supposedly a merger, but it's really more like acquired by Skydance. So Paramount Skydance is kind of a question mark in my head. Definitely not a fan of tons of Paramount content besides, like we watch Star Trek and stuff like that. Like they don't have a ton. So I'm like, yeah. And so they have that stuff. And it's like, okay, this helps fill that in. Okay, you're good solid too. Comcast, I mean, yes, NBC Universal, Peacock is like the only service I don't have, I think. Or have never had, except for maybe a trial. And then I think in this household, we decided not to. So it was more like a principle of the thing. So they would be my least desired. I feel like it's the least capable hands for this. But I think point taken, they also don't really have a super strong catalog. Like, yes, they do have some things like, The Office as an example. I believe Seinfeld is theirs. Again, Friends and stuff. So like, it's not that they don't have stuff. They just don't have a lot of new stuff they're trying to build. So them taking Warner Brothers, I'm like, okay, new stuff going on, DC universe stuff, you can take the Looney Tunes stuff. I'm like, all right, maybe, but it just doesn't feel great as a fit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixed blessing from the consumer side. On one hand, you could have some consolidation, so you don't have to have two services. You could have one, but then if they change the content that you enjoy to fit, the values of the company, is it better? I would say definitely not. So,
right. Can I go now?
You may.
So there is one more thing. There's actually two more things. But one more thing is, I don't know if you guys saw this, but last week somebody leaked a bunch of... We were talking about Star Wars coming back for the, I guess, next 2027, I guess, is the 50th anniversary.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So and we were all postulating as to whether or not they're actually going to show the original cut in the theaters, right? And the BFI, which is the British Film Institute, actually did a screening a couple of years ago, last year maybe, of the actual original cut. Right?
It was earlier this year they did that, yeah.
Yeah. So they actually showed the entire, they have this huge giant IMAX screen. They showed the original cut without the New Hope and Episode 4 and all that stuff. It was just sort of like, the one I enjoy the most, which is the sort of the first go at it. It's kind of like that's how I would have loved it if it had been left alone. Mm-hmm. So we're all kind of wondering, like, what are they doing? So the rumor has been that they're doing a 4K transfer from the original film stock, right? And so there are some leaked clips on, and I've got a link here in the show notes, of certain sections. There's no audio. It's just the visual. And they show, in some cases, they show the original, or where we are today with the restored version, and it definitely looks better. There's a fan made up-res, or sort of like a Blu-ray up-res that fans did, and this has even got more detail than that. And they go into the minutia of things on the wall that nobody would ever look at or even notice, that that they're crisp and clean, and they look, I mean, they don't look perfect, but they look a lot more, there's a lot more resolution than that. So anyway, if you're interested, just have a look at these clips and maybe get excited about seeing something related to the Star Wars 2027.
So does this mean we have a timeline on when George Lucas will be dead?
No, but
because I believe what he said was over my dead body.
He's no longer in control. Well, but also Kathleen Kennedy did, speaking of the BFI thing, Kathleen Kennedy accompanied the film and did a question and answer thing after, like the Gilmore thing I went to, right?
Yeah.
Did a question and answer thing. So it wasn't officially sanctioned, projection of the original film, right? So because Disney was there, right? Or the head of Star Wars Disney was there, right? So it'd be interesting to see. Like, again, it's something we would all hope for, and everybody's like getting, all the nerds out there are getting excited about it. So I thought I would share that with our crowd.
As a nerd, I approve this message.
Yes, and so, and I don't know if you watched the clip at all. It's not. It doesn't. I mean, I put the link in. I didn't really sort of make it look like. I didn't make it look like a link, but there is a link there. In the show notes, I mean, which people can't see from home or transporting at home. But Jonathan raised a question a couple of weeks ago on the show and said, "What is Apple up to?" And I just happened to watch, just for curiosity's sake, I was watching there's a guy I watch, Snazzy Guy or whatever his name is on YouTube, and he does these weird sort of Apple explorations. Like, he goes and spends $1,000 on Apple dongles, right? And he went out and he bought all the sort of things that we joke about on the, like, remember the $700 wheels, Jaime, for the Mac Pro? Yeah, he went and bought those and did a review of those. But also, like, the little cable ends and things like that you need over time. Like, he spent $1,000 on this Apple junk that, it's kind of useless, right? But he did I was watching the other day, and he did the clip on the lost leader is Apple's worst Mac ever, right? And I'm like, okay, what's he up to this time, right? So I just happened to, it was in my stream, and it kind of started auto playing. So I started watching it. It's he talks about the original Apple TV, which was initially at one point called iTV, right? Which is, remember that big gray box I lent you, John, that I still have here? I still have mine in the box and all that kind of stuff, because I bought one when I was a reseller years and years ago. And it basically, surprisingly, turns out to be one of the first Intel, it's actually it runs a version of Mac OS X actually on it. And it's from 2006, and it's actually an Intel motherboard. And I kind of did some checking. Apple did their transition to Intel around 2005. So it was like within that same time frame, because I kind of wondered if this was their first sort of kick at doing an Intel Mac. It was a big deal when Apple went from Motorola to Intel, right? And you can actually run, Xavier might be excited to learn this, but you can run Linux on it. You can run Plex on it. I mean, I installed Plex on mine years ago, and people have been modding it. It's got all these really cool, things inside, and it runs a, fairly decent version of Wi-Fi protocols, right? But I think A, B, C, and N, I think, was the fast one at the time. But where it got interesting was when he talked about the whole development of the Apple TV, and kind of like what Jonathan was saying, and it kind of answers that question as what is Apple up to? This is like 2006. It was sort of kind of, even Steve Jobs kind of called it a hobby for a while, and people thought of it as Steve Jobs' sort of, hobby, because it kind of came, and then, they sold a few 100,000 of them, not very many. Didn't really take off because it was way before its time. But what Apple had done, though, in the OS, is they had developed a way of showing, and there was no streaming. You had to download movies from iTunes to it. You didn't stream them like you do now. Like when you watch an Apple TV movie today, it's actually bringing it down from the cloud and playing it. Same with Netflix and so on and so forth. So it's kind of like Apple invented this whole, or was a very big player in inventing this whole sort of streaming thing that we see today on Netflix and Disney and Plus and Paramount and all that kind of stuff. But lost the ball, or dropped the ball, or just took the eye off the ball, kind of thing, right? So it was a really interesting article on video vlog, I guess you would call it, on what Apple had in their hands and kind of just didn't get it, right? Or maybe it was too early for the market or something like that, right? But because eventually they got to the point where they have they distilled it down to these little black pucks that we now have sitting underneath their TVs that stream the movies from iTunes and stuff like that, right? It had Netflix and YouTube already installed on the device, so right from the get-go. So it was there already, but just not ready for prime time. So it's kind of if you're curious in that kind of thing, and maybe you've got one sitting in your shelf somewhere, and Might want to look at, trying to run Linux on it, which would some people want to do these days. But pretty interesting little, essay on this. But it's kind of weird, like I said, lost leader kind of title, right? Yeah. But I mean, to answer your question, like why is Apple even in this game? It's kind of like they were in there from the beginning, and they kind of some executives just never let it go, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the main part of the show, where we talk about something Star Trek related and other things, Stranger Things even. We are going to talk this week about, we're still doing a rewatch of the original animated series. Is it called it's called the animated series, not the original animated series or anything like that. But from the 1973 version, we're still on season 1, episode 13 and 14. The Ambergris element and the slaver
Ambergris.
Ambergris.
Yeah.
All right, whatever that means. Okay, you'll explain it, I'm sure.
I will explain it.
Lead on, McDuff.
Okay, well,
Oh, he's falling and he can't get up.
Dog ever.
This is the one I pre-watched the other day, where something happens and Spock and Kirk end up becoming water breathers. So how was it cranberry good today, honey? Did you have cranberry and stuffing and
cranberry sauce, turkey, mashed potatoes and gravy?
Do you do the stuffing in the bird, or do you?
No, we actually, since it's just the two of us.
Okay.
We just got one of those Thanksgiving dinners at Sprouts, which actually comes up later. Spoilers, I guess, for Pluribus. So we actually got that at Sprout Farmers Market. This is the name of the store, or Sprouts Market. I forget the name of the store. So they have those.
That's the store in Pluribus.
Yeah, that's where Carol Sturko wants to go as a plot point. And my significant other, she was like, independently, because she's not watching the show with me. She was like, "Hey, does that lady on the Apple TV, does she really like olives?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, yeah, I guess you can shop Carol's, shopping list.
Oh, God.
There's some sort of ad on the Sprout site, I think.
Okay, the ambergris element. Ambergris is a substance that they used to get from whales back in the day that you no longer do, thankfully, but it was much sought after back in the day for using in making things like perfumes and such. How that ties directly into this rather weird episode, other than the fact that it's set in water. Yeah, this was a weird one. This might have been the weirdest one we've seen so far, where they meet this race of people who have basically evolved themselves to become underwater breathers due to the climate of their planet, and just for giggles, they decide to transform Spock and Kirk, and chaos ensues. Right?
Yeah, don't they get hurt or something, and then they take them in and do first aid on them, and their first aid involves making them into water breathers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically they're exploring. I love that they have an aqua shuttle. Can we talk about the aqua shuttle?
Yeah. Why does they just use their life support belts?
Yeah, I love that in the cartoon they can kind of just be like, we'll do whatever we want. Yeah, I don't know. This was a weird one. And then there's this like weird, age divide. So there was like this weird like post 1960s youth movement kind of thing here, where like the young people and the old people don't agree on what should be the right way to do things, and that felt like a bit of a carryover from the era in which it was made. This is from 1973, so not far removed from the sort of youth uprising of the 1960s.
Yeah, they even had that in the Planet of the Apes movie. Remember, the young kids were always yeah.
But yeah, I mean, your mileage may vary, but I struggled through this one. It was a little weird. And then it turns out that they have to, basically convince half the people to work with them and try and get them back to being who they were. And I gotta admit, I didn't love this episode. I mean, I love a sea monster as much as the next guy, but this was a little rough. Pretty silly, pretty goofy.
Yeah, I love how in Star Trek they can, the original Star Trek, they can transform people. Well, I guess they did that with Paris and Janeway, but they can transform people into different like creatures, like have them breathe through gills, and then give them a hypodermic needle, and they're back to being normal, and the gills go away, and
Yep.
yeah,
They come a long way between those couple of centuries, right?
presto changeo, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Clickety click, barber trick, right?
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. Jaime, did you love this one? Was this one a personal highlight? How'd you feel?
I wouldn't say that it was. I mean, kudos to it for using, something that would have been really challenging to do in live action. Some of the choices they made are kind of sort of odd. I guess the creatures seem a little bit more alien, but they just seem so subdued with how kind of quiet they are. Especially the female that ends up helping them. She seems kind of like, okay, whatever. Sorry, I can't help you take you to this place because it's against the ordainments, but it's really important. Yeah, all right, I guess I'll take you right to the edge of them. That's probably okay, right? I'll show you where they are.
That's another Majel Barrett special, right? She seems like if there's a female role, Majel Barrett's going to play it. They were definitely going to reuse her. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Also, a strange choice when McCoy gives Kirk the cure to turn him back, instead of Kirk, making like a human sound, like a groan of any sort, it was like a bear or something. It was like a weird. Nobody comments on this. They're like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that sound the captain just made?
Yeah, it's funny because we kind of bag on the Orville for being a little inconsistent in its tone. Sometimes it's goofy funny, and sometimes it's a little too serious. It's hard to get a gauge on that one. But sometimes you do wish someone was standing off to the side and going, did you guys hear that? Like, you just kind of want somebody to be like, that ain't right.
Well, they would have mentioned it in the lower decks for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, again, this one was, there's always going to be ones where they were like, this is a good idea. Like, is it a good idea? or is it that maybe we had, too many puffs on our lunch break and things got weird. That being said, that'll take us into the next episode. Also pretty weird.
Well, wait a minute. I want to check something though. Which one was the one written by Larry Niven's son, or Larry Niven?
That's the second. That's the Slaver Weapon. The second one, the 14th episode.
Yeah. This is the Ringworld guy.
Yep.
Larry Niven.
Yep. The Slaver Weapon, which is episode 14, was written by Larry Niven based on a short story that he had written that was not a Star Trek story. So, and apparently, I did not know this. I looked it up. Apparently, this is our little behind the scenes fact check. The episode was expanded to become the first half of a full-length novel by Alan Dean Foster as Star Trek Log 10. So there's an expanded version of the Slaver Weapon out there if you felt so inclined to want to read a more fulsome take on this storyline with the Kazindi, not to be mistaken with the Zindi.
Or the Caitians, or Caitians. I can't remember how the
cat people. Yeah.
It's a different kind of cat people.
Yeah, ones who look like perpetually kind of mopey and like hunched over.
Yeah, a little bit more beast-like.
Yeah.
So this is one of the shuttle missions where they get in this special shuttle and they whip down and it's like Spock's in command, and I mean they did that once or twice on the original series, but once anyway, right? Where I don't know when Dr. Mbega in it too, but anyway, so I'm just I'm really blanking on this episode. It's been 2 weeks since I watched it, right? So
yeah, so this is the one they have. Basically, they have this thing called a stasis box, which is the MacGuffin of the episode. And the idea is that these now extinct race of people known as the Slavers have these basically, what was that, Hermione's purse in the Harry Potter ones, where basically it's like this portal into another dimension. The idea is the stasis box basically, you could put anything in it and it basically perfectly preserves whatever's inside. And so it would never, you could put food in there and it would stay fresh. You could put, valuables in there and they would stay. You could put dangerous things in there. And so they have one of these boxes, and of course, then they find out that this other alien race, the cat-like Kzinti, have an empty version of one of these boxes that they can use to track other boxes. And so I was waiting for somebody to make a litter box joke, but alas, never came. But yeah, it basically turns into this sort of, crisis episode where they're trying to figure out how to get what's inside the box, which, again, I was immediately spent my whole time doing Brad Pitt impersonations. What's in the box? What's in the box?
What's in the box? Yeah.
So I was watching this one, sort of giggling to myself as I did it, and they basically they capture Uhura and Sulu and Spock, and they're holding them hostage, and then they're trying to figure out how to get what's in the box, and they find what's in the box, and it turns out to be a weapon that, sometimes they can figure out how to make it work and sometimes they can't. And then they figure out how to really make it work. And they're like, well, we can't have that. So, it was pretty dark towards the end there, because they're like, well, let's just, let's just show them how to work it. And then they basically turn it into a self-destruct device and they kill everyone. Which I gotta say, I did not see coming. I did not think they were going to kill all the Sinti.
Right.
Yeah. They were kind of like, oh, well, I guess that's that, It sucks to be them.
They're like, well, I guess we don't have to worry about them anymore. Like, it was a little blasé. I was just like, that's pretty dark. They just killed a bunch of people and we're like, yeah, they had it coming.
Yeah. Time for the second contact crew to take over.
Yeah. I don't know what you do. Get like a dustpan and some.
It's an easy cleanup, right? So
yeah, really. Like, get me a broom. I'll clean this up for you.
Get the dustbuster out, the Star Trek dustbuster.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this one scored higher for me than the previous one, just because on the unintentional comedy scale, it was pretty high. Not that they aren't all a little bit kind of silly, kitschy, kind of, retro they and silly. But this one in particular, like, again, the whole subplot of like I think you flagged it in here, Tim, they don't respect their females. Their females are different in their species, and so they basically at one point Spock is like, hey, lean into that, Uhura. You're useless. They'll forget about you, and you can sneak up on them, and so there's like a weird kick in the teeth to the feminist movement in there in 1973. But this was a weird episode.
I got a link here. So I had to look this up. I was like, what's up with the Kzinti? Are these the same as the Caitians, whose name I did not remember? And I was like, nope, apparently they're not. But it turns out that this is a crossover. So Larry Niven produced the Known Space novels. So these are not original to Star Trek. That's like a crossover. And searching on the interwebs, I found this great quote from LarryNiven.net. I'm just going to read the quote here. Female Kzinti are non-sentient. They cannot manage their lives without male supervision and do very little except eat, sleep, and breed. Ancient Kzinti females, regarding Cat House, the Man-Kzin Wars Volume 1, were just as intelligent as the males, but they proved too bothersome to the patriarchal and stronger males. Females were selectively bred to lose their aggression and intelligence over millennia. This is a fascinating choice to bring into the animated series. And I guess kudos to the writers. Like, yeah, I guess if you were Spock, you'd be like, all right, we're going to distract this dude because I'm an herbivore, and it'll make the psychic dude really upset as I think about eating, broccoli or something. And Uhura, it actually did sort of work out where one guy was just watching Uhura leave, and the captain was like, what are you doing, idiot? No, their women are smart. Yes, ours are dumb. Theirs are smart. She's just as capable as them. Stop her. Shoot her in the back.
Yeah, the not only taking the swings at women are dumb, but the vegetarians are disgusting to them. There was a lot of feels like somebody had an agenda in sharing some of these ideas.
Very strange. And it does make me think, right? This, I'm sure some fan site somewhere out there has this, but Star Trek has a bunch of these kind of, and I'm going to put the Q aside, it's just a completely different kind of being, right? Because the Q are just godlike. I'm talking extra scientifically advanced creatures. You have the progenitors from TNG's The Chase, right? That's where, they seeded all life. And we later, spoilers, saw them in Discovery, was like, hey, it was their tech. No, actually, it wasn't their tech. They found somebody else's tech. Is it the slavers? I don't know. Get writing, beta canon writers, because I gave you something. And the Iconians are also another pretty ancient race. Their tech gets found from time to time and causes issues. So somebody somewhere has to stitch this together. Like, who came first? Who was fighting who? Who was, I don't know, selectively breeding who for millennia? Just there's got to be like a fan site that covers that.
See a need, fill a need, Jaime.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right. There is definitely an ancient history of the Star Trek universe component that could probably be put together pretty interestingly.
Now, a word from our sponsor. Now, back to the show.
Well, are we done? Are we done with the Trek? We're done.
Yeah, let's move on to Pluribus.
All right. Well, we have a trifecta of pluribi. We've got, luckily this week, because of Thursday being Thursday, and if you're in America, Thanksgiving, we got the 5th episode got milk early, so and we were off last week, so we've got episode 3 Grenade, episode 4 Please Carol, and episode 5 got milk. We got a lot of stuff to cover here, so let's dive in. Just for a quick recap, starting with Grenade, which was one of the funniest twists so far. We get our first flashback to seeing Carol and Helen and their life before the others arise, and we see a little bit of Carol chafing at some of the experiential life things that Helen wants to do. She kind of wants to just do her own thing and sleep in a simple hotel. It ends up in a nice hotel
hotel. Yes.
Yeah, which is pretty weird for her. She's like, so we're sleeping on a bed made of ice? Cool. And then, we basically we get our first connection with the character in Paraguay, whose name has been released as Manusos. Jaime, tell me if I'm saying that deeply wrong. I don't know if that's a Latin name, but
that one I'm not as it's like not a common one that I've heard, but where did it say it was, in Argentina or
Paraguay? I think.
Yeah. Maybe it's
regional something.
Yeah, maybe it's like Manuel equivalent, but maybe it's like super common. So I do not know how to pronounce that one off the top of my head. It does look kind of like it would have a root like Manuel, or feel like, is it vaguely influenced by like Portuguese crossover, kind of looking at the maps and looking where Brazil is?
Yeah. It's hard to say, but we'll go with Manusos as a fallback. So she basically says, like, I want to talk to this guy, and ends up having a phone conversation with him that does not go well. He basically is like, piss off.
Yeah, she ends up, of episode 2 for those of you flying at home.
No, that was the beginning of episode 3.
The conversation?
Yep. Her side of the conversation is the beginning of episode 3.
Oh, okay. I guess we see him in the beginning of episode 4 on the other side.
Episode 4, we see his side of the conversation. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she ends up calling him, and then he hangs up on her, and she calls back and swears at him, and then we basically get the first time that she has to kind of try and resume her normal life, right? So she wants to go and she's like, leave me alone. I don't want your help. I want to do my own thing. She goes to the grocery store, and the grocery store is empty. And then they basically, she's like, I want my grocery store. So they basically bring everybody in town, shows up at the grocery store, restocks all the shelves for her, and basically put it all as she wants. And then she's trying to figure out more about these people. So, she basically says, like, so let me get this straight. You guys will do anything that I want. You just restock the grocery store. You turn the power off, and I said, put the power back on, and you said you'd do it. Could I just ask you for a hand grenade? Would you bring me a hand grenade? And then, 2 hours later, Zosha shows up with a hand grenade. And then, she thinks that it's fake. She thinks there's no way that they would actually give her a hand grenade. And of course, she pulls the pin. Zosha thinks quick and throws it out the window, and it blows up, but it actually does injure both of them, particularly Zosha, who ends up with a pretty big wound on her back. And then that leads to the follow-up, which is, the next day when she's like, I didn't think you'd really give me a freaking hand grenade. And then she starts questioning the sort of person that she's speaking to on behalf of the hive mind and says, like, would you give me a nuke if I wanted one? They're like, well, we would probably want to have a discussion about the, safety of that. But yes, we would give you a nuke.
Yeah. Do you really want a nuke? Yeah. She's like, no. Yeah.
But, yeah, again, it was an interesting episode to sort of see, like, could you still have your normal life if you were in these circumstances? The answer is obviously no. Things are pretty weird. So it's not like she could be like, well, I'm just going to do my thing, you do yours. That's never going to be a thing. And I think that's an important step for Carol, is like, as much as like she's like, leave me alone, she can't extract her life from the weirdness that is now the rest of the world. But she also learns that they will basically go crazy beyond what anyone would reasonably expect to try and make her happy as they try and work on a way to convert her over to their side. What did you guys think of Grenade?
Well, it blows up real good, but no, it was a good sort of object lesson, and she's kind of like sort of finding out the rules of the game. I think that's the whole purpose of her conversation with Zosha. There's a big long conversation before she actually pulls the pin. I think the pin comes up by mistake, actually, but because she's fidgeting with the grenade, right?
Yeah. It's funny if I went back and watched that scene again because it had been a couple weeks. The look on Zosha's face when she's just standing there having the conversation, she's got the grenade in her hand, she's playing with it. You can see Zosha's eyes are just on the grenade. Yeah. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, we learned some interesting stuff here, that they will bring deadly weapons, the hand grenade, and like, if I straight up asked for a nuclear weapon, would you do it? They kind of hem and haw of like, man, I really wish you hadn't asked me that. But yes, if push came to shove, yes, we would give you the nukes.
They definitely would.
Yep. Which leads well into the next episode, which is Please Carol, where it starts with the other side of the conversation between Menuso and Carol, where basically he's doing an even more extreme version of what she's doing. He's basically locked himself inside of a storage facility in Paraguay, and he won't even, like, he's basically got the security gate up. He won't engage with them. He's like ransacking the lockers looking for food and stuff. He's like so desperate, he's literally like licking the tins as opposed to taking any kind of help for them. So he's taking an even more hardline view than hers of like, I don't want you to deliver me food, I just want to do my own thing. He's like, I don't want anything from you people. So this leads to, the present time. We see Carol, and Carol is starting to make a list of like everything she knows about the others and starting to figure out like, okay, so they can't, they don't seem to have the ability to, draw safety parameters around some of this stuff. And she basically ends up bringing this fellow in to question him to sort of learn the parameters, and starts using, you were connected to my partner, and starts asking questions and getting hard answers, and, basically figures out that like the hive mind won't lie, but also struggle with revealing information when they know that they really don't want to give it to her. Mm-hmm. And so she basically goes to the hospital where Zosha is and steals more or less truth serum. It's sodium thiopental, and decides, I'm going to try it on myself, which made for a hilarious. I mean, this is why you hire somebody as good as Ray Seahorn. She's so good in that scene where she basically like injects herself with truth serum, sets up the camcorder, and just like goes on this like craziness bender for 8 hours, I did see a behind the scenes thing on social media where apparently she had to do all that so that they could do the fast forwarding part. She basically did a whole thing. She sang songs. She like walked around in circles. She did like just all kinds of stuff to, you know, keep that, you know, feeling authentic. And then, of course, they play back some of it where, you know, she sees herself and she admits that she's sexually attracted to Zosha, which is kind of a no-brainer. But she decides that it works just well enough that she's going to give it a try. So she goes to the hospital. She basically sneaks Zosha outside. She shoots her with the truth serum and tries to get her to tell the truth. Is there a way of reversing the joining, reversing what they've done? And while Zosha struggles to like spit it out, everyone around her basically shows up and starts saying, you know, please Carol, please Carol, please Carol, and crying, trying to keep her from doing that. And then Zosha basically passes out and goes into cardiac arrest, and she says, fine, you can save her. So that was, again, a big sort of, you know, move forward as far as our understanding. There is a way to undo what's been done, but she doesn't know what it is. And she also figures out that like they don't seem to be capable of lying, but they also are capable of resisting to an extent as well, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing about that is it kind of becomes a joke in the next episode. Is she handcuffs herself to Zosha, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then in order to save her, they bring bolt cutters and they cut off the handcuffs, so it's still connected to Carol. By the way, we didn't mention that Carol, they asked her if she likes her police car. At one point, she steals a police car.
Yes, that's
and then she's
true,
driving around in this police car, right? So, which becomes important in the next episode.
Mm-hmm. True. Okay, so please, Carol. So again, we finally get to actually meet Minuso, and we get to see that he is much more like Carol than the rest of the other unjoined people that she has already met, right? So this is a potential ally, somebody who's definitely got her same mentality of this is not right. So obviously we're building towards a point at which we're going to get these two together, I would hope. And then, we get this sort of pretty dramatic scene, and obviously we see the consequences of this in the 5th episode, but, the idea that she's trying to sort of, break inside not one mind, but all minds, right? I mean, we're talking about, even if you subtract the roughly billion people that they killed in the assimilation process, you're still talking about 8 or 9 billion minds all joined as one, trying to resist her, trying to get information out of Zosha, which is a pretty intense scene.
Yeah, the idea here around hey, if you'll bring me nukes, you'll let me have heroin, right? Can you get me the equipment for heroin?
Yeah.
They probably say, oh, okay, that's less dangerous than a nuke, so sure, why not? And didn't realize it was part of a play here around the IV.
Yeah, the way to get the hypodermic needle. Yeah, I did. I did love her delivery on the lines where she's like, do you remember what happened last time you did heroin?
Yeah,
who among us, And then, so you want to do the next one, or
no? It takes us to the Got Milk episode, which is where she makes a discovery about something that's, I guess, how they consume mass quantities. I guess, right?
Yeah, well, it's so in the immediate fallout of the trying to break into the hive mind. So one of the other immune people, Lakshmi, calls up Carol and basically bawls her out because apparently the crying was not just the crowd around her. So we get the perspective that she basically made everybody in the world cry with what she did, which is it's pretty intense to think about how interconnected all this whole world has become. But the crazy part is that, as Carol, curls up and has a nap as she's waiting to see what happens with Zosha, everyone in the entire town of Albuquerque leaves. basically saying like, it's we still love you, but we don't want to hang around with you right now, considering you made us all. Yeah. So they leave this hilarious message. The message is, for what it's worth, I don't know if you guys both watched Better Call Saul, but the guy who does the recorded messages is actually the guy from the law firm on Better Call Saul.
Oh, Howard Hamlin. I didn't catch the voice.
I didn't catch it either. I didn't see it.
I noticed the voice, and I kept trying to think who it was. Right? Yeah.
So it was his name, Jaime Howard.
Howard Hamlin is the name of the character. I don't remember the actor's name.
Yeah, that's the guy that they got to do these voices, which is hilarious when you know that that's kind of a cameo as well. But so Carol's basically left completely alone in Albuquerque, and at first she's like, fine, like, this is great, you guys are creeping me out anyways, and then realizes that she's got to continue doing something. She starts recording these messages for the other immune to do, and she's like, presses 0, and she gets this message that basically says like, we need space, and she says, come pick up this package, make copies of this
because you have to.
Because you said you want to make me happy. It would make me happy. Do this thing for me. And they're like, cool, put it in an envelope and put it at the foot of the driveway. And a drone shows up with a claw from a claw machine and scoops this thing up and tries to, fly away with it, which leads to a bunch of gags with the drones. The bit where she's like, I need somebody to. So there's the part with the wolves, right? The wolves, wolves, coyotes. You guys,
I think they're wolves. Yeah, they show up because there's nobody in the town to scare them away, right?
Well, the lights are mostly off, other than her little neighborhood, and she lives pretty much on the edge of the desert. Mm-hmm. And they show up because there's a dead body wrapped in a blanket underneath, probably not deep enough ground in her backyard, right?
Well, they first start going after her recycle bin, I guess, right?
Yeah, first thing they do is they go after her trash. So that leads to the gag where they basically they're like, Carol, we'll be happy to pick up your trash. We're not sending by a garbage truck for it, though. We're going to pick it up, and it has to be no more than 17 pounds.
Yeah.
And of course, it ends up not being able to get proper lift off and smashing up against the light post in her house, dropping the trash all over the streets.
Yeah, because she didn't bother weighing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all pretty. I'm going to go ahead and say that if you have a serving tray with a lid made out of silver, that's probably going to be 17 pounds on its own. So
true, yeah.
And then anyway, so it leads to this whole thing of her basically trying to. She discovers that everybody in town has been drinking this milk. She puts 2 and 2 together that when she's taking the trash into town to get rid of it, that there's all these empty milk cartons, and so she goes and discovers that it's not milk; it's some kind of substance that's like kind of more like, what did you say? It's more like oil. It's more like olive oil or something.
Yeah,
and she basically figures that it must have something to do with keeping them attached. Maybe this is part of the connection or whatever it is. And so she records another message that she wants to share with the other people. Then the wolves show back up, right? So the wolves show back up and start trying to dig up Helen's body. Carol freaks out and starts like charging at them, which she realizes is a huge mistake, and then goes back and gets the police car, thinking, I'll go grab the shotgun and I'll fire a couple shots at these guys. She cannot figure out how to get the shotgun out of the police car. I feel like this was a great public service message because I did not know that was a thing, but now I know what to do. I will press the button.
Yeah.
You got to push the button if you want the shotgun.
Well, she figures that out in the morning, and this is where it comes back with the handcuffs too, right?
Yeah. So anyways, she can't get the gun out of the car, so she basically drives the car at them and smashes through her fence and nearly runs them over, and then basically parks the car over the top of Helen's body and stays in it so that the wolves can't get her. In the morning, she basically gets up, and she basically realizes that she has 2 epiphanies. One is, I just have to press this button and the shotgun comes out. The other is, I've had the key to this handcuff that has been stuck on my arm for the last couple of days on me at all times, and didn't realize I could just take this thing off. Mm-hmm. And then she goes and basically builds this much more, formal grave, puts the paving stones down. as somebody who has built a paving stone in area, I don't know where she got hers, but mine weighed a lot more than what she made those ones look like they weighed.
Yeah.
Like
those are prop gravestone paving stones. A friend of mine owns a prop shop, and I can tell you, like, the hammers that they hit you over the head with are made of rubber. And
yeah. I'm guessing those were made out of a lovely decorated styrofoam, because when I had to lay those things, mine were like concrete reinforced with rebar. They're not light. They're really, really not light. No, I know.
I have 2 of them in my backyard. I can tell you they're very, very heavy.
So that was the one part I was like, that's some BS right there. There's no way. But she builds this grave. She paints a little headstone for Helen, which is a very sweet moment, because they, more closure for her on that front. And then, she basically figures out that she needs to figure out the bag's substance. She knocks it on the floor accidentally. She figures out what she's like. Oh, it's got a scan on it. It's got a UPS code on it.
Yeah, barcode.
Yeah. So she's like, oh, okay. So she takes it to, what's the name of the grocery store, Jaime?
Sprouts is short. Sprouts. I'm going to take a look and see what this full name is.
So she takes it to Sprouts. She tries to go through the cache. It doesn't work. I'm not sure that I understood. So the idea is that from there, she just like walked around until she saw other bags that looked similar.
Yeah.
And so she ends up finding that it looks a lot like this dog food bag. And the dog food bag comes from a local supplier. So she goes to this place again. This one was a little Nancy Drew-ish for me, but she ends up going to this food packaging place, and where, in theory, that this is where the stuff is. She goes into this giant refrigerated thing, and she discovers something.
Da-da-da.
Which is how we end the episode, with this big, like, oh my God. All right. So the obvious question is, what's in the box? What did she discover? What's underneath the tarp in the food packaging place?
I have no idea. They're using people as batteries.
My thought, honestly, was so they won't kill, right? They've already established that they won't kill a fly. So, I don't think any of the, it's not Soylent Green or something horrible. They're not, grinding up human beings or pets or anything like that. Although they did say to the fellow in episode 2 that if something was already dead, they would use it. So who knows? There was, I think they said 890 million dead people. So it's not impossible.
Yeah, people were kind of wondering online, and I kind of lean towards it's people, but not initially obviously so, because if like there was just like cadavers there, right? I think they're got to be processed in some way, like, I don't know, like if you made like a granola bar out of people, kind of
they're making a powder. They're making a powder that when you mix it with water turns into this sort of liquidy milk stuff, right?
Yeah. You like, you know, think of how you make grapes into raisins or into wine. Like you smush out a whole bunch of stuff and it doesn't look the same. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. It's like, the people are dead, so they didn't kill them, intentionally, and they would be very efficient with all of that energy and feeding basically protein back to the bodies that they inhabit. Kind of seems like it would make sense and would scare the heck out of you. Like, oh my gosh, this is horrific.
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought was when she aligned it with the dog food stuff, I was like, well, dog food is in kibble form is essentially, it's animal proteins, it's leftovers from the slaughterhouse, right? That they basically have like ground down combined with grains and other ingredients and then turned into a formed chunk. You could do that with a lot of different animals. Could you do it to turn it into a powder that you could then turn into a liquid that you could in turn drink? I don't see why not. So yeah, that was kind of where my mind immediately went, was like, maybe that's what they've done, but I don't know. Does it... Like up until now, obviously what they've done in sort of, hive minding the bulk of the human race is horrific on its own, for sure. But would it be another bridge or a bridge too far to be like, and now they're eating the dead people? Yeah. Like, well, that's the
Soylent Green connection you just mentioned, right? So
yeah. Like, could you come back from that? Could there be, is it necessary to have that be part of the ingredients after we're already like, well, but you've already taken over the entire human race? Like, do we need them to eat people to like them less?
I don't think so. But yeah, it's interesting to sort of, I mean, because you think about it, it's a whole telekinesis thing, right? Like the fact they have a hive mind, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's Rick Sanchez or something. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously good timing, right? This episode came out the night before Thanksgiving in the United States. So hopefully, the idea is that it's out. People have time to watch it, and also gives them an extra day on this little dun 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 kind of mystery before we get next week's episode. So you do end up waiting an extra day to sort of have this play out. I'm curious to see what whether the 8-day wait will be paying off in a positive way, or if it'll be like, it turns out it was, I don't know what, mice, or who knows, you know what I mean? Like something weird and gross, but not quite as bad as 875 million people.
Yeah, we're at hump day, right? Because this is the 5th episode of 9. So
5th of 9, yep.
So we're on the downward trajectory.
Yeah, I actually was surprised to see the 9th and final episode lands on technically on Boxing Day, but it will arrive, I'm sure, like most things Apple does, later in the evening on Christmas night too, which is an interesting timing question there.
And Vince Gilligan has said that he sees 6 seasons out of this show, possibly.
Yeah, last I saw, he said at least 4. I hadn't seen 6, but I mean,
yeah, well, more than one.
It's interesting too. It's such a small, like, it really is. It's just an absolute spotlight for Ray Seahorn, who again deserves it. She's amazing. I think she's a terrific performer. But they can have people kind of pop in and play these roles. The fellow that was in the episode, the guy who came and sat at her kitchen table and was asking questions. Yeah. He was, I think he won an Emmy for a show this year. Like he did, I think, this beforehand, but like, that's not nobody. That's like a guest star. You could bring in guest stars to play these sort of like key parts without having to basically maintain the high cost of having like a huge cast or whatever. You can basically have people come in and play in this world for an episode or two. They don't have to be like, constantly returning. At one point, if you recall, when she blows up her house with a grenade, and the next morning they're cleaning up and fixing her house, and she says to one guy, "Oh, you're the mayor." That is apparently the real mayor of Albuquerque.
Oh, really?
Hey, there we go.
So
Nice.
Again, and obviously Vince Gilligan is beloved in Albuquerque and in New Mexico because he's set all 3 of his very famous shows there, and he loves the community and he employs a lot of local people. I imagine getting the mayor of Albuquerque to be on a show is probably really simple, but that's like a really fun little Easter egg too. Is like, again, you can bring on whatever you want, whoever you want to be these little cameos and little behind the scenes, little bits. They don't have to be there every episode, but they can be, right? I mean, can you think of somebody you've seen twice
in the show
other than Zosha? Like,
yeah, no.
I mean, I think it's kind of actually part of the recurring joke is that because they share a hive mind, you don't have to have the same person. So like, you go to the hospital and there's like, people that just do not look like they belong in a hospital setting, but they're there because they can be, right?
It's a hive mind, yeah. Like there's kids acting as nurses, and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need to have the actual person who's trained professional, because everybody's now a trained professional, right?
Yeah.
And they're all in street clothes and stuff. Oh shit.
Yeah. How at the halfway mark, like, how are you guys enjoying the series? Are you finding yourself getting more and more drawn in? Is it do you find the mystery is deepening in a satisfying way? I mean, again, they had me at Ray Seahorn, but
and Vince Gilligan too.
Oh yeah.
I think they're definitely sustaining my interest, and it is 100% based. It's like a one-person play, like for the most part. And so it's heavily just like, how much do you like her as an actress? And I loved her character, with Kim Wexler on Better Call Saul. So kind of knew it would be good. And it's fascinating to see her just have the snark and impatience and irritation, like I think a lot of people really would, right? Of like, this doesn't make any sense. What the heck are you people doing here? Kind of stuff. And she even resets herself in one of those video recordings, right? When she's discovering, and she starts ranting. And she's like, you know what? I already messed up with the other people. Let me just reset and do the entire thing. I'm going to keep it as professional as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you're right, and I think you nailed it, Jaime, with a one woman show. So much of this, especially this last episode when all the people she was normally interacting with were gone, like that is the epitome. Like she did this whole episode, she talked to a telephone, she talked to some wolves, a lot, she talked to a camera, but she's just, this is a Ray Seahorn production. Yeah, like this is a huge, spotlight for her, but like even just her facial acting, her body language, the way that she's like, physically acting has been just something else. Like it's really, I think as an actor, this has got to be just a dream come true. Like it is all on you.
Yeah, it's going pretty well here. I really hope that it's getting, people to watch and isn't just going to be quietly there. I don't know that I've heard.
Well, that isn't quietly there. Isn't that the model that Apple TV uses?
Yeah, like even Severance wasn't mega hit on its first season. It was kind of like when the second season was coming up that people sort of rediscovered the first season and really started talking about it on social media. So I haven't seen much about this one, which has me a little worried, but maybe it's a slow burn and it's always there, right? Maybe it'll get really hot on social media for season 2.
Yeah, and I think we've all kind of felt the burn of streaming television, right? How many times have you been like, "Oh, I'm way in on this show," or "I love this actor, I love this." Again, I think about the Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance. I think of the Willow series they did on Disney Plus, where I was like, "I'm way in on this stuff," and they're like, "One and done." Like, okay. Now, Apple doesn't seem to run that business model. They tend to give their creators some latitude, and especially if you're going to bring in Vince Gilligan, you're probably not going to pull the plug after one season. But that doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to buy in right away because, I think we've all felt that burn of like, hey, what a great concept. Oh, it's canceled already.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, do you want to move on to Stranger Things? I don't know if you've had time, given that you did actually have a holiday today, but did you have a chance to dip into Stranger Things yet, or is that still on your to-do list for this week?
It's on the to-do list, and with the long holiday weekend, because I'll be off on Friday, like a lot of other folks. So we're kind of hoping to... How many did they drop? 3, 4?
4. 4, but they are also not, I would say, jumbo size. The first 3 episodes are about an hour, and the fourth one's an hour and a half. So you're in for 4.5 hours all in. I understand that the ones that are coming on Christmas and then the finale are more, each one is sort of movie sized. Mm-hmm. I mean, even again, the finale of this part 1 is an hour and a half, and it definitely is, it builds for the first 3. I in a shocking turn of events, I watched all 4 of them when they first dropped last night. So I'm not going to get into any spoilers of any kind, but to say, 4.5 hours, it's over somewhat, quickly, all things being equal. But it's definitely, if you are a fan of Stranger Things, I find that, it's like slipping into a comfortable pair of pajamas or something, it just feels like, all the players are there. The people know their parts. The chemistry between the actors is so tight. If you are a fan of this stuff, I don't think you'll be disappointed with the first 4 episodes. But it's strange too, because this is like a real kind of, this is a slight change to the Netflix business model too, right? If they had dropped all 8 episodes, it would have been kind of crummy because you'd have some people who power through the whole thing. You'd had some people that, are going to take their time and be watched over the holiday weekend. You might have some people, but the whole sort of hubbub and buzz of it is going to be over with in like a week, 10 days. Now you get this different model, which I think is the one that we probably have talked about that we prefer on our pod, which is, give me a little bit, but you don't have to give me all of it in one big shebang. Even 4 episodes is, it's more than most people will want to watch in one go. And I will say, having watched them, 1 and 2, you could watch 1 and 2 in sort of one go. And then you could watch 3 and 4 in one go, or you can watch 1, 2, 3, and then watch 4. Like, it breaks up okay. Although, again, once you're into it, you're like, oh, wait, I like these people. Oh, wait, I want to see what happens. So that's how I ended up getting sucked into it and watching for 4 hours straight last night. But
you watched the whole thing?
I did. I watched the whole thing, but it just was coincidence. So my wife is working nights this week, and so I had but time and a television. So I was like, great, I'm going to sit down and just start watching. And she came home from work and said, how far in are you? I'm like, well, I watched the first 2. She's like, okay, well, I'm going to bed. I was like, I'm going to keep watching.
So I just started episode 4 before we started recording today. So I watched 1, and then I thought, because again, I'd rather have time to sort of sit and distill it a bit, between episodes. But you're right. Like, now that it's in front of me, I'm like, okay, let me just rip through it. So I watched 2 episodes today. Or I watched part of episode 2 yesterday. No, I watched 2 yesterday. I watched 1 the first day it came out. When did it come out? Wednesday?
Last night, yeah.
Okay, so I watched 1 and 2, and then I watched 3 today, and then or I got halfway through 3 before I went to bed or whatever. But so I'm not finished yet. But I was speaking with a friend of mine who was I talking to him about something, and he was like, "I'm not going to watch it till all the episodes are out." So I think Netflix has turned people into that binge watchers, right? Like. You get the DoorDash or the skip the dishes and and a diaper, and you just sit there and watch the series, right? Because it was something I was talking about. Oh, it was the Slow Horses.
Yeah,
he wants to sit and watch all Slow Horse all at once. I'm like, what?
Like when the series is over?
Yeah, I mean, or it was something like that. It was something really good, and it was like he started watching it, but then he realized it was going to be like dropping every week, and he decided he wants to wait until he can just binge it, right? So, which I don't know. I mean, like they're longer than movies, right? When you get down to it, right? Like it's good that they're series long, but I personally would have preferred if it was dropping 1 a week, right? I'd forgotten about the whole Netflix thing because I don't watch Netflix that often. I'm more Apple TV and Disney Plus and a little bit of Paramount, but and I occasionally go watch something on Prime or Netflix, right? But I mean, there's a lot of stuff to watch, right? But I don't know. And this one, you kind of it's sort of it's a departure from the first. Like you watched all 4. I'm going to ask you this question. This is my big question to you, then. Okay. So you've watched all 4 seasons, rewatched them all, right? So
yes.
What I find about this new one is there's kind of a new take on Vecna and the kids and there's a meme too I'm going to talk about too, but how do you feel this fits into the whole 5 seasons, like this where we are today? Because we're sort of like we've gone to the land of Oz kind of thing now, right? It's familiar. It's familiar but not familiar. I mean, like, the Upside Down was really kind of cool in the first season because it was kind of like the world upside down, everything was hanging from the ceiling, kind of thing. And dark and scary and boogeyman-ish, right? And then Vecna came along as a progression from not Eddie, but the other guy, the other brother. And then, who Vecna is. I'm not going to spoil it for people if they haven't caught up yet. But how do you find this new, especially like this last 4th episode with the return of one of the main characters who comes in and sort of like is trying to save the day kind of thing? Like, how do you...
Yeah, I mean... I was saying to Jaime, I think that this was the right amount of episodes. I think the way that they're telling it makes sense. I don't think if they dropped all 8, it would have been a satisfying experience. I think the way that they've structured it, and actually, they made it this way. It wasn't a decision that was made after the fact. They built it to be distributed this way. No, but
so I mean, but do you think they built it this way from whenever they started 5 years ago or whatever?
Not at all. No. And the Duffers have been pretty honest about it. What they had intended to do when they pitched it was to do it as an anthology series. They wanted to basically do, like, the first season was going to be, hey, there's some weird stuff that happened in Hawkins.
Like Fargo, connected but not really connected.
And just the idea that like strange things happen in different places, you know, these little towns in America, whatever. When they started working on the first season, they realized that they had sort of got lightning in a bottle. They had this, you know, really interesting young cast. They had some really terrific chemistry, and they kind of struck on something. And so Netflix and the Duffers basically got their heads together and said, you know what, instead of doing an anthology, let's keep this rolling with this cast and see where it goes. But I don't think they had the idea at that point, hey, there's this central big bad guy. Because, I mean, people, having just rewatched it, but I think a lot of people forget, like, we didn't even hear of this, like, there is a single evil entity kind of thing until, you know, a few episodes into season 4. So, you know, clearly when you go back, you can see that they have done a nice job of tying what they created for seasons 1, 2, and 3 together into a cohesive storyline, but I don't think it was always the intention to do it this way. As for what Vecna is now, like, I think it's probably ultimately more satisfying. I found that when I was doing my rewatch of the early seasons, it was a little nebulous. Like the first season, the big bad is that Will is lost in this place. It's not that, you know, like, yes, there's the Demigorgon is this sort of boogeyman-y kind of thing. And was scary and definitely was an effective, you know, monstrous villain, but it didn't have, like, you know, ulterior motives or plans. It seemed like it was just there to, like, you know, it was hunting Will inside the Upside Down. It was trying to eat him, whatever. Whereas, you know, and then we get to season 2, and then it's the idea of, like, the Mind Flayer, you know, this sort of thing that Will has, you know, encountered, this sort of larger evil thing. But again, it's not like it's nothing with a personality. It's nothing with an evil voice. There's no mwahaha mustache twirling. You don't get that. And even, you know, season 3, same thing. It becomes the physical embodiment of, you know, the Upside Down, you know, is producing, you know, basically, I don't know if you remember season 3, but season 3 is basically the one with the mall where they basically bring all these people together. The people liquefy and become this giant sort of flesh monster version of the Mind Flayer. But again, like, even though they had a physical thing to combat, it was not like a person or personality. I think that the season 4 was kind of a leap forward for them because it gave a larger scope and scale to the whole thing. Of those were just sort of, you know, initial forays by this sort of larger evil. So I think it works well. And then where they take it here to, you know, now it's you know, these people who we've gotten invested in trying to figure out how to stop this malevolent creature / former human being is definitely probably where the show needed to go, because I don't think you could sustain we're battling against this large rumbling, grumbling thing for 5 seasons in the same way and make it satisfying. So I think it was kind of necessary to create an ultimate evil and to give it sort of some personality. And then obviously what they do in season 4, tying it into Eleven's backstory, tying it into the town's backstory. Like, I think it's a pretty elegant way to do it.
Stuff. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty elegant way to do that stuff. So I think it was necessary, and you know, your mileage may vary on the Henry I Vecna character.
Yeah,
you know, some of it is better than others. There's a few spots during these first 4 episodes where, you know, the Vecna of it, the Henry of it was a little much, but, you know, it's a choice, and that's not, you know, that's splitting hairs. I think that there is this sort of central evil that they are trying to work towards stopping is, you know, ultimately going to make for a more satisfying ending.
Yeah. Well, the meme I saw today was about the adult actors playing 17-year-olds, right?
No, I mean, come on. You know, I saw some of the interviews beforehand of the actors, the young actors, and, you know, the one person they were talking to was saying, it was Noah they were talking to, and he was basically like, who plays Will, and he was like, yeah, when I started this, I was like 12. Now I'm 21, and I'm like, you're still a baby. Like, it's ridiculous. But also, it is a bit of a stretch sometimes where you're like, yeah. I was definitely struck by it in a few spots there because, again, when you follow social media, you see these people who are not dressed like their character. They're dressed like they are for a fashion shoot, or they're dressed like they are as a human being. And like, both these young men and these young women have definitely grown from being children into young adults. And I was struck that there was one scene during one of the episodes that they just put out where like one of the young female characters, I'm like, there's no way that they do not have her bound within an inch of her life to make her breasts not seem as prominent, because of course they're young women. They're now look like women.
Well, yeah, Millie Bobby is like, I think she's married now, or
she's married. She's got a kid. Like they've come a long way. And so, obviously they're not supposed to be the exact same age as they are in real life. They're still playing it like they are younger. They're not, I would say, children anymore. But yeah, it's pretty crazy they try. It was also interesting that, and I don't think this is a spoiler because they already released this a few weeks ago, but the very first scene of the very first episode of season 5 is a flashback to Will being lost in the Upside Down from season 1, and they actually hired a new child actor to play a younger,
kid. I was going to say
different kid, and apparently they did use a few digital touch-ups just to make him look a smidge more like Noah did at that age, Noah Schnapp. But it's also really interesting that like they've actually gotten to the point in this show, which has now been 9 years since it first started, where they actually had to bring in new kids to play the kids because the kids have gotten too far away from being kids.
Yeah, they've introduced new characters who were in younger. 10. I think Holly's got to be like 10, right? 9 or 10.
Yeah. Well, they actually recast that part too, right? Because the over the years,
there was a different kid. Okay, yeah.
Holly, the actor who played Holly in the previous seasons, did like barely had any lines of dialogue, just like pass the bacon. Like she was not really a part of the show. But here we now evolved to the point where like Holly, who was the youngest child of the Wheelers, of Mike's little sister, actually has a part to play in this 5th season. So they were like, we need to hire somebody who can actually be, an actual actor who can actually act these parts out and be part of the actual show, right?
Yeah. By the way, the pass the bacon was an Easter egg laid up for you by Jonathan, so you'll have to watch for that when you watch the show.
There are some good ones. There's a gag. There's a bunch of gags. Depending on your 1980s knowledge, there's definitely some really good jokes in there.
There's a Pinto in this thing.
Murray when he's sneaking in and out of Hawkins uses the name Austin Milbarge, which is a joke from Spies Like Us with Dan Aykroyd. Which again, I don't know why that's stuck in my brain. Probably because I've seen that movie like 15 times, but.
No, it's good. The references to the 80s are pretty funny, actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Anyway, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first 4. I'm glad they did it this way. If they had dropped 8 and it was over with by like tomorrow, it probably would have been ultimately less satisfying.
Aren't they doing like one? I thought they were doing this in 3 parts though. So they're doing these.
They're doing it in 3 parts. Then... So there's 8 episodes. So they did 1 through 4. Came out yesterday, so the 27th of November for those scoring at home. And then on Christmas Day, we are getting episodes 5, 6, and 7. And then on New Year's Eve, we're getting the finale, which I believe is 2.5 hours long.
Okay, cool.
So it's good. It'll give us a chance to talk about it. Hopefully next time we convene, we can dissect this a little more with some perspective. But having been the glutton that I am, just diving right in, I can say I was ultimately pretty satisfied with what they did so far, and I hope you are too.
Cool. All right. Well, shall we move on to our watch list?
Yeah.
Try and end this long. I've got the longest watch list here myself.
That is quite a list.
Yeah, so a couple of things happened. The day Running Man came out, I checked out the theater. I had some time, so I wanted to go see The Running Man in IMAX. This is the Edgar Wright film, which is the more closer to the Richard Bachman book. Very interesting movie, blows up real good. Much more exciting than the original with Schwarzenegger. I did watch part of that actually on it was on TV or something the other day on one of the channels I was watching. But yeah, definitely recommend seeing Running Man. It's a really good telling of the story. Of course, I saw it in IMAX, which is why one of the reasons why I wanted to go see it. But I was chatting with Keen on the Slack, and I mentioned that I'd seen it, and I also mentioned that I went and saw. Did a double header. I watched it, and then I was downtown already, and I thought, I had a half an hour wait. There was no seats. There were seats left over for Predator Badlands in Ultra AVX 3D, not playing in IMAX in the theater that I was at. So I watched that one too. And that one is actually pretty good. It stands up on its own. I think my review of the Predator's Badland is it's definitely a good movie to watch. It's not cheesy like the other ones are. It's but Keen and I were talking. He says, like, how many other Predator movies do I have to see before this one? My answer is none, because it stands on its own. I don't know if you really need to know much about Predator really to see it, because the Predator was kind of a mystery when he first came out, right? It was sort of this mysterious antagonist, right, in the story, but it kind of evolved over time in the I've seen most of the Predator franchise over the years, the AVP stuff and stuff like that, right? But I said basically it stands on its own, and it's basically a young Predator meets a synthetic person in this fun buddy romp, right? So there's what I did like about it though is they could have done a huge spoiler in the trailer, which they didn't do. So that's all I'm going to say about that, to sort of lead you into checking out this movie, which is pretty cool. I did have a couple of false starts here too. I mentioned Eddington. I wanted to watch that one. I'm giving it a 1-star review. I made it about maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes into the movie before I thought I have better things to do with my life than watch this movie. It's basically set during the time of COVID, and by the time they got through the first three, why aren't you wearing your masks things? I'm like, I'm out. That was like, it's too soon, not soon enough, but too soon. And of course, Joaquin Phoenix, you can either love him or hate him, or if he's some movies I just can't watch him in, but this is one of them. And I should have watched Cats instead. I probably would have enjoyed that more. And same thing with Materialist. I just kind of saw like a bunch of, ads for it on some of the streaming services. I started watching it and got about like 20 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, I don't really need to know this. It's basically about matchmakers and...
Yeah, I've seen the trailer. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer, so I probably should have, because it definitely was a pass for me.
You're not as big on rom-coms as I am, but
well, I mean, I do like a good rom-com, but this was just not let's put it this way, they didn't hook me early enough in the story to make me want to watch it. And then of course Superman. There's a bunch of movies on sale right now, obviously because it's Black Friday coming up. The Superman movie was on for $10 or $9.99. Let's call it $10 on Apple Canada. Of course, I wanted to watch it in 3D. Jonathan and I saw it I think we were in New Brunswick that week, right? Mm-hmm. So I didn't see it in 3D. So I wanted to see how. I mean, I enjoyed the movie initially, and I just wanted to see it in 3D. So I bought it on the Vision Pro, and it looks really good, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more in 3D than I did watching it in the theater, but. And even to the end part where they get where they have the big romantic little side part, that it wasn't as bad. I guess them floating in the air in 3D was acceptable. And I also noticed that Dread 3D, which I've been sort of hemming and hawing about. I think I watched it a few years ago, but I think you said it was really good, Jonathan, right? So that one's it's up for $5 right now in Canada, so probably $2.99 in US or whatever. Price of a cup of coffee. Come on. So I'll check that one out for sure. But definitely might. But yeah, the takeaway from this is go see Running Man if you want to see it in the theater. But it's still a good movie if you want to wait for it to come out on a streaming service. And definitely same thing with Badlands. It's good in the theater if you want a night out, but yeah, I mean, check it out. Still, I think it was a pretty good story. I'm surprisingly better than I thought it was going to be. right? I was not going to go. I was going to wait for it to come out on streaming, but since I was already downtown, I invested the time to get down there, and the opportunity struck, and I just sort of said, "Yeah, I'm going to go make it a doubleheader." And that's it for me on this watch list. Over to Jaime.
Yeah, I've got a link here for John Gruber's Daring Fireball, where he links to a couple of things that Apple has done to promote Pluribus. They've got, Ray Seahorn's character Carol Sturka supposedly doing an AMA, which is an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, where she answers, Carol Sturka answers in character. And there actually is an Apple Books. You can get an 11-page excerpt of the novel Blood Song of Wickorow, which was kind of fascinating to read. It definitely feels like some fantasy of that type. The kind that Carol herself even looks down upon in the show. As like, it pays the bills, sure, there's a lot of fans, but man, this is not great. This is, not my Oscar-winning novel. What is that? Pulitzer? No, wait, no. Peabody? No, what? Jonathan, you probably know. What's the award? The Hugo? No, that's sci-fi specific.
For best books overall?
Yeah. I'm struggling to think of.
Yeah, Pulitzer would be for literature, or you could win like a Man Booker Prize or something like that.
Yeah, there we go. So it's out there, 11 pages, pretty easy breezy. You can read it on your iPhone.
All right.
Okay, so it's been a long time coming, but I finally signed on to Letterboxd.
Woohoo!
I'm here. I'm in the game.
Are you JPK News on Letterboxd or what?
I'm JPK 11, JPK 11, JPK 11.
Okay.
I thought about doing JPK News, but then I was like, I don't really never loved that as a handle anyways. So I was like, all right, well, let's do this. So yes, if you want to follow along with me, I haven't really done a lot of writing yet. I did start going in and sort of making myself a list of movies that I'd like to watch, and I started making myself a list of movies that I'd seen. Would anybody like to take a stab at the rough number of movies that I have seen so far? And I am not by any means done.
I'm trying to find you on here. Oh, there you are, JPK 11.
So you've been pretty thorough in going back. This isn't like going forward watching. This is
this is everything that I've seen, and it certainly does not account for multiple watchings of things, which would put the number at a much higher level.
Where do you get that number from?
If you go under
your profile, maybe.
Yeah, if you go into the profile, it should say the information in there.
Well, if I put you on a scale of me, like, could I have, like, how thorough have you been about going back through the past?
I haven't yet really gone down the rabbit hole. I kind of just went year by year and just sort of
I did the same thing.
Stuff that I want. I haven't gone like fully crazy on it yet. I'm sure I could easily come up with a couple hundred more.
Okay, I'm going to be conservative and say 1,200.
Cool. Jaime, want to take a stab?
Not even the slightest clue. I feel like, okay, I'm gonna go lower than 1,200. I'm gonna guess Price is Right rules. I'm gonna go 999.
So I haven't, as I say, I haven't gone too far down the craziness hole of some of the weird movies I've seen yet. But so far, after spending a week putting stuff in here from time to time, I'm at 1,967 movies.
Ooh, wow!
And that's, like I say, I'm sure if I put my brain to it, I'll be able to come up with a fair slate more than those. I was actually genuinely surprised at the number when it started getting up into the thousands, and then it started creeping closer to 2,000. I was like, I really should have more of a life. Like, I really feel
you probably have that many on VHS. Never mind, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I've always been between. I happen to just be in this sweet spot where. A lot of television when I was a child and a young adult, child, youth, and young adult was, we didn't have streaming services and a lot of stuff wasn't programmed. They just showed movies. Mm-hmm. So, things like City TV in Canada, they must have shown like 10 movies a day, every day for years and years and years. And on top of that, there would be, PBS and TV Ontario and like all these different channels showing movies constantly. Plus, as we've discussed in the past, my mom used to give me the choice. You can come shopping with me for fabric, or I can drop you at the movie theater. So I just would go see whatever was playing when I was a kid. So, yeah, it's, I must say, I've gone through the list. I've been adding stuff in there, and I'm adding stuff in, and I'm like, do I admit that I've seen this movie? It's not a proud moment in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this. And that's a really good question I'd like to raise for you two, and then for like our Slack channel friends.
Well, before we get too far down that question, so just for perspective, people, I have been on Letterboxd for 5 years. My earliest movie that I have listed in here is from 1966. That I still remember going to the theater and seeing. I'm just shy of 1,500. And I've been doing this for 5 years. And Jonathan just started last week, and he's at almost 2,000.
Almost 2,000.
Right? Yeah. I'm at 67 this year. I don't know what you are this year, but
it says 4 so far. But I know that's not right. I just haven't.
Yeah, it's not right. Yeah. I can tell you. I can for sure know sitting next to you during maybe more than that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of movies. And I've for me, it was like when I was sick at home. I would take a day off from school or whatever and just flip on the TV and watch a movie. Mm-hmm. That's how I saw a lot of these movies too. But yeah, I mean, you were watching way more movies than I was when I first met you, right? Like you had the whole, basement, we would rent movies and they would end up on a VHS tape somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I've moved those VHS boxes, so I know there's quite a few of them, right? So
they are here still, actually. It's funny because Xavier and I were just discussing that, like, how should we organize our media library here at the house in Florenceville, and the question was, do you do it by era of media, or do you do it by alphabetical, irrespective of media? Which I think is a really interesting way to approach it. Like, you could literally have on one shelf a VHS next to a 4K. Because you may not have it in different formats. Some stuff just hasn't been released in different formats and everything else. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to have lived through that whole era of there was no home media, then there was home media, and now it's harder to get home media, although it seems to be coming back because people are getting PO'd about the things they can and can't get on their streaming services or downloads or whatever else. So yeah, and it's funny too, because again, the number is 1967, but it doesn't account for multiple watches. I wish this wasn't a joke, but I swear I've seen Star Wars at least 150 times.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, well, not 150, but yeah, pretty close to that. Yeah, like yeah. I've been pretty. I mean, I movies I've put on here that I remember watching, I put them in at least once, right?
Yeah.
And I try to go back to when I think I actually saw it, right? Because I used to go to movies like back in 10 years ago, I would go to a movie every Friday night, right? So that's how I stumbled across Shaun of the Dead and, some really bad movies too, right? So The Matrix was the same thing. We would just it was the movie, we just looked at what was playing and we walked into The Matrix and we were blown away, right? So
yeah,
that's a movie I've probably seen about 10 times, right? At least.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's safe to say that I am a movie fan. And some of these movies, if you love them, you watch them over and over again. Again, as I say, my question for you guys and for the audience was, do you admit to everything you've watched, even if what you've watched has been a bucket full of cheese? Like, I have seen the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy. It's freaking terrible.
I've not made it through one of her movies yet, by the way. The actress you're talking about there?
Oh, Dakota Johnson?
I have not made it through a single one of her movies yet.
Well, I have definitely one, which was the, I make it through every movie, but the one that I would say, she's in, she's got a pretty good part in Social Network, right?
Okay. Yeah. I've seen her in that. She's the girlfriend?
Yeah, she's Sean Parker's girlfriend in that one.
Yeah. I've seen that one. Okay, I take that back.
Yeah. But again, it's not like she's the star of that movie. She is in that movie. But anyways, there's definitely some movies where I was like, oof, I've seen this movie. Do I want people to be able to look through my inventory of movies and be like, dude, you watched that? You spent 2 hours of your life on that? Mm-hmm. So the other thing, it's a bit of a cheat too, is they include comedy specials, especially, comedy specials are considered films because of their length, right? And I've seen countless number of those. So that definitely padded my numbers for sure. Just because I've a lifelong stand-up comedy buff, so that definitely.
You just reminded me of an Easter egg too from Running Man. So Josh Brolin's in Running Man. He plays the sort of the big executive who wants the main character to be Glenn Powell to be in the Running Man show, right? And at one point they flash to a TV movie playing, and the movie playing is called Skyjacked, which I have seen. It's in my IMDb or in my letterbox, right? And it stars his father.
Oh, there you go.
He's the hijacker.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotta love an in-joke on an in-joke. Anyway, I will continue to participate here. I do find this a much more interesting social media platform than most of the other ones that I am forced to work upon as part of my vocation. So I'd rather spend my time talking about movies than most of the stuff that comes up on the other ones.
Interesting when I go to log a movie, I can see my friends that I'm sort of following. It's about 5 people I follow, right? And and you can sort of see how they rate. Like one of them is the other guy that goes to TIFF, right? That I was talking about. So when I log a movie, I always try to kind of see what he thought about it. You gave that 3.5 stars. Okay.
Yeah, that'll be the other. Again, I haven't gone down any of that rabbit hole. Xavier showed me how to do the reviewing and the comments and whatever. I haven't gone down any of those rabbit holes, but it would be interesting too to sort of look at the overall quality of the movies that I've watched. I was surprised. It's funny. Again, I know there's some stuff I've watched, but I just don't know because I watched it at a certain age, and they all kind of blend together. Like I know I've seen a bunch of like the Clint Eastwood spaghetti westerns, but I can't tell them apart. Like I couldn't tell you which one was, a fistful of dollars and which one was, for a few dollars more. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. So I was like, do I count those ones? I'm like, I guess not. If I can't remember the movie, it probably doesn't count as seeing it, does it? I don't know.
Like fugue state watching, does that count?
Well, for me, it was childhood. And again, I used to watch a lot of my mom's favorite movies. We used to watch movies all the time when I was a kid. And we watched all the stuff that she loved from when she was a kid. And, she was born in the 50s. So her favorite movies when she was a kid were stuff from the, 30s, 40s, 50s. And we would watch all that stuff. Could I remember all those movies? Not a chance. I remember some of them, again, obviously the big ones. I remember some of the, the Gene Kellys and
Some Like It Hot,
Fred Astaire's. And of course,
Royal
those
Wedding.
ones are no-brainers. Yep. American in Paris, again, the Fred Astaire, the Ginger Rogers stuff, I remember some of that stuff, but couldn't tell you every single one of them. I'd have to really delve into this thing to figure out which one's which. And but I did find it handy. I know Xavier's got an absurd list of watch list movies, things that people have told him over the years he should watch, and things that he's put down that he wants to watch. I think his watch list is something like 1,000 movies. I'm happy to report that after having just an initial glance at it, I think mine is at about 75. So I will have to start doing that.
I don't. I mean, I started doing lists when I first did it. I think I have 2 lists, and I don't think I have very many lists. I have 3 films on my list, and I've seen them all. And then I had 6 films on my top list or my space list. But just not. I mean, some parts of the app I don't really participate in, but.
I did like it for, it was definitely when I was able to go through it and be like, oh, yeah, there was a few movies that were nominated for Oscars last year that I never got around to watching. I was like, oh, I'll just put those on my watch list so that next time I sit down to watch something, I can be like, what was I saying again? I think we all do that, right? You sit down in front of the TV and you're like, what am I going to watch? Where it is nice to have a list beyond just whatever the platform has on it, but actually to think of hey, I've never seen the original Rashomon. I should make a point to see that at some point. To that point, I bought that movie this week because I've never actually seen the original Rashomon. So that's on my list and I'm going to watch it. It's Japanese movie that is often duplicated. It's considered one of the greatest films of all time.
I haven't seen Seven Samurai either. I haven't seen Seven Samurai either.
I've not seen Rashomon. No, I've seen other Rashomon style movies, but not the original.
Yeah. So again, I just thought what the heck? And coincidentally, Apple had a sale this week on some classics. They had like they had like The Great Dictator, which is a classic Charlie Chaplin movie. They've had a few like all-timers. They had the 39 Steps in there, like stuff that would be like Criterion movies. Were on sale for like $5. I was like, oh great, that's always nice. You want to give me all-timers for $5? Like Throne of Blood and just all kinds of stuff that you put on your lists because people say it's the greatest of this and the best of that. You got to get around to them eventually.
Oh, sure. And it's annoying, like you said before, like some of these movies you go to looking for it and it's like it's not being shown anywhere. And so, in fact, there's a couple of movies I wanted to watch recently, not available on anything.
There's definitely ones that I put on my list here, and that's kind of why I put them there, because if they are available somewhere, I can put them on my please, put it on my wish list or watch list or whatever, so that I will watch it when it's around. But some of this stuff just does not exist, so you kind of just have to either figure out an alternate way or order it. If it's still in print, you have to go find a copy of it or whatever. There's a movie from it's from 1980 called How to Beat the High Cost of Living. I don't know if you remember that one. It's Susan St. James and Jane Curtin, Jessica Lange, and it's basically what became Kate and Ally, right? The TV show that was popular for a number of years. It's about these women who are, it's comedy. Anyways, I've never seen it. And I was like, oh, I'd like to see that. Like, good luck. Like, find a copy. That's the only way we're going to watch this. I was like, all right, good to know.
Well, because I didn't talk about this, but I saw Paul McCartney a couple of weeks or last weekend, right? But which is amazing. But I'm following all the sort of threads on YouTube. But somebody pointed out Nowhere Boy, which is a movie about John Lennon when he was young and met Paul McCartney and all that kind of stuff when he was in the Quarrymen, right? That's not available anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Not available on any streaming service. Can't buy it on. It's not on any of the libraries or whatever. That's an example of a movie that's unobtainium, right? So, I just noticed in Just Watch that it does keep track of your searches to a certain extent, I guess. Recently visited section here, but because I mean, like even the Italian Job came up on the original Italian Job with Michael Caine, which is that was another. Stayed home from school and watched it movie one afternoon kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But good stuff. Cool. Well, I guess that's it for another week. So hey, Jonathan, if people want to get in touch with you, where would they find you?
You can find me on Letterboxd, kids. I'm JPK11. That's where you'll find me now. It's there, or probably more likely you'd see me on Instagram or Blue Sky. I'm JPK News there, or if you really want, you can check me out on YouTube at youtube.com/JPK.
Sure. All right. And how many people get in touch with you? Where do they find you?
I'm on Instagram as @DevWithTheHair.
All right. Well, I also am on the Letterboxd as TIMMITRA, and also you can find me lurking on Threads and on Blue Sky and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty much my handle anywhere I go if I can get that handle. And until next time, we'll see you in the future. Bye.
Bye.
Unless you live in Australia, in which case you're already in the future.
You've been listening to the Spotcast podcast. If you want to find out more about the podcast or see the episode show notes, visit the Spotcast website at spotcast.com. If you have feedback or questions, you can get in touch with us on the website. If you like the show, please consider recommending us to a friend, writing a review on iTunes, or pledging any amount at patreon.com/spotcast. You can find details on how to help us on our website, spotcast.com/sponsor us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the future.
Welcome to the Letterboxd family of folks.
Yeah. Like I say, it's been a long time coming. I know Xavier has been for ages saying, "Oh, you should really just get on there because it's a really good way to track stuff." No, I'm like, yes, I'm not aware. It's finding time, but I wanted to start, prioritizing making, watching some better movies, not just watching just whatever's in front of me on a streaming service. So I thought, well, what the heck? Let's see.
Now the question is, I'm following 10 people now. You're my 10th person. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
So I follow X-Man 664 and a bunch of other people that I follow. And then some people are pros. That's how good they are. Oh, one's a patron. And then, JPK11 is my newest acquisition.
There you go.
And I follow the TIFF headquarters because they have lots of interesting perspectives on stuff. Yeah, some people are on here, but they don't really participate,
Yeah, I mean, whatever, obviously, some people are going to be passive, some people are going to be active. I don't know that I will review every one of the 2,000 movies that I've watched.
Yeah, I don't. I've only reviewed, I've only got 175 reviews out of like 1,400, 1,500 movies, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, how you choose to use it is the next thing. But like I say, for me, I just wanted, to initially just start a watch list. And then when I started going down the rabbit hole, I was like, I wonder how many movies I've watched. And I started, just tapping on all the ones that I watched. I was like, this number's getting a little out of control. And then I was like, maybe I have a problem.
Yeah, it was interesting. I started because I remember watching movies there were movies I watched when we were in India. There was like a movie night we used to go to. And I can't remember. I remember seeing Mickey Mouse, but I can't remember any other movies we would have seen there. And we used to also go to the Kingsway in high school, right? Because you'd go there on like a Thursday or Friday night, and with some friends, and you'd take some substances with you and watch stuff. And
what kind of substances, Tim?
But the funny thing about it is I was not 18, and at that point in time, I wanted to go see the Andy Warhol Frankenstein movie, and my mom even wrote me a note, and they wouldn't let me watch it. It was a 3D movie, right? Because it was Andy Warhol, it was pretty. I've seen it since. It probably would have been better in 3D, but it was not great in 2D. But when I eventually got to watch it, but one night, they would show one movie, and then they would show a movie in between, and they would re-show they would like an early show and then a late show of the same film, right? So we were going to see some movie, and I can't remember what the movie was, and then I started watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and I thought it was a trailer, right? And then I realized, oh, this is actually the movie. So I actually managed to get in to see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest before I was technically eligible to see it, right? So. But I'd seen things like where I saw Kentucky Fried Movie, and I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show there. And I saw it before people were really going crazy and people were throwing things at the screen and yelling out, but there wasn't the whole sort of mayhem that there was. This would have been like 76 or 77, right? So
yeah,
it came out in 75.
I've never seen Rocky Horror in a theater.
No,
much to my disappointment.
I don't know if I would want to see it in a theater now.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tricky. I would, just because of, I'd like to see...
It's the anniversary. So I think it's the 50th anniversry this year, right?
Yeah, I'd like to have that experience, but also it's like, it can be a little crazy.
And I remember one of the first movies I watched, Nashville, and I was not a country music fan at the time. And Lily Tomlin played one of the main characters, and I remember my sister and I walked out of it. We're just like, nope. But I've seen it since, and it was... Is that Altman, I think?
Yep.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty good movie if you can get past the stuff. But I've seen A Star Is Born, but I haven't seen the latest one. Right, I saw the Judy Garland one, I saw the Barbra Streisand one, and I've not seen the what's her name, Lady Gaga version. Right, so
yeah, and I think there was one before that too. I think there's one from the 30s as well.
Yeah, well, I think I've seen that one. I think too. The black and white one, yeah. But I think the one, yeah, because you're right. It was a remake when Judy Garland did it. Oh, by the way, I also got because of Wicked coming out. I finally got a copy of Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz, that has been done in 3D.
Oh,
which is a really interesting experience because I mean it's soft and it's a 4K, but it's like definitely not like it's not what you would consider high quality because it's an old film, an old print, right? But it's interesting to watch it in 3D, especially when you consider the whole gist of that movie was the first part of the movie is in fake black and white.
Yeah.
Right? Most people think it's in black and white and then it changes the color when she goes to Oz, but it's actually in fake black and white. right? It wasn't actually shot. It was shot in color, but they subdued all the stuff, right? And actually the scene, the big transition scene, the way they did it was, that you see Dorothy walking towards the door of the house, and she opens the door and she walks through, and it's in color.
Yeah.
Right? Well, the way they did that scene was the inside of the door was all painted in grays, and it was a different actress dressed in gray. Right.
Oh.
So if you watch it again, sorry, I'm spoiling it for people for a movie that was done in the
from a movie from 1939.
Yeah, whatever. But as you walk, but they must have blown people away, right? Because you're walking into this movie, and in the scene, so you see Dorothy open the door, and then you see Judy Garland walk through the door, and she's in color, right? And then the whole Oz is in color, and then the whole Munchkin thing must have been. I mean, could they do that again? Like, get that many, little actors to come out and play the parts, right? That was such an amazing achievement from that point of view, right? So,
yeah.
And of course, now that you know that the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion are actually the farmhands from the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
But first couple of times you see that movie, you don't really make that connection unless you're really smart, or maybe if you knew the actors at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. If you knew who they were, and it's funny
that guy
how
from that movie.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes that actually works to your advantage to have come at these things so much later. Like, you don't have those connections, so they don't seem as spoilery, right? Like, now, if you see an actor, the one I always go to is Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I watched Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I watched the Swedish ones first.
Yeah, me too.
And because I didn't have a relationship to the actors, I found that to be terrific because I didn't feel like I was. I
didn't like the American one with Daniel Craig.
I did like that one, but I did find that because of the casting, there was multiple spots where I was like, hey,
that's the wrong person.
No, as soon as they show up, like, and again, I already read the book and I had already seen the other one, so I knew it was coming, but I was like, that is a huge tip. Like, at one point there's like an important character who gets revealed, and when that actor walks on screen, you're like, okay, like, anybody with a sense of a clue is going to be like, well, that guy's here. He's not here for nothing. You know, clearly this is where this is going, and you're like, all right, well then.
Stunt casting, yeah.
I
haven't seen the second one with the I don't know if it's actually from a book, but with the woman that played the Queen Elizabeth in the second version of The Crown.
Claire Foy. Yes,
Claire Foy. I haven't seen that one yet. That's another
Girl in the Spider's Nest, I think it's called. I put it on my watch list, a few things, and then it just disappeared off of some of the streaming services. So I have to find that one again too.
Yeah, I got to go back and finish watching the James Bond ones that are on. I think they're on Netflix or something. I started watching. I got up to. I mean, Goldfinger's actually a funny story too, because I hadn't seen any James Bond when I was a kid because my parents weren't into that stuff, I guess, right? And then we were doing a Roman history, and at the private school I was going to, I was a day student, so I didn't stay overnight, but they would have Saturday night movies, right? And they were going to show Spartacus, right? And we were studying Spartacus at the time, and I guess, I don't know if maybe, I didn't realize that I think that's a Kubrick movie, right, too?
I feel like he was involved, but I don't think he directed it.
Yeah, because it's Kurt Douglas, right?
Yep.
And so I was all excited. I got permission from my parents to go see it, and I went to the school. I went to the school on Saturday night and watched it. And all the kids were dressed in their pajamas and whatever, and I had my uniform on, which I felt like an idiot. But anyway, got there and they didn't have Spartacus. They showed us Goldfinger instead. Right, which was amazing, right? In retrospect, right? So I remember being in the hospital when they were showing the animated King Arthur movie, The Sword and the Stone.
Oh yeah. I like that.
And I had to go get my cast off or had to go home or whatever. I got checked out in the middle of the movie, right? So I'm like, oh man. Things you remember about movies.
Yeah, it's funny though, like, great art, not just movies, but like, music and media and all kinds of stuff. It's amazing how it does like make an imprint on your brain, right? Like, you do remember the details. What was the first drive-in movie you went to? The which?
First drive-in movie you went to?
Ooh, geez. I don't think I went to a drive-in until I was in high school.
Still? What do you think the first movie was?
At the drive-in, Jesus.
How about you, Me Too, by the way?
I probably am mixing multiple drive-in experiences, but I do remember seeing Star Trek V and RoboCop, but I don't know if that was the same night.
Okay. Yeah, because they used to show 2 movies, right?
Mm-hmm,
yeah.
mm-hmm.
And did they have to listen to the audio on your radio, or did they have the speaker in the window?
The speaker is in the window. You just like pull it off the little, I don't know, hole, I guess.
Yeah. You remember yours, John?
No, I know it was a rom-com or like a dramedy, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been something from the 90s with Michelle Pfeiffer in it. I was in, this is going to sound even worse. I was on a double date at the movie theater on the drive-in, and I was in the back with my girlfriend at the time. I can't say that was. I can't say that. No, I truly don't. I can't say that the movie was my first priority. So yeah, not my best moment.
Right. Okay. And what was so mine was Oliver, by the way. Went with my parents. What was your first? What's your earliest movie you remember going to see?
I mean, I remember going to see probably something like, well, I remember 3 movies very vividly because I saw them with my grandma. She used to take me to see movies during the week. And I remember seeing, they were reruns. They were reruns of Sword in the Stone, Winnie the Pooh, and Robin Hood, the Disney ones.
So that would be before Star Wars?
I know. I don't remember seeing Star Wars at 3. I don't remember that exact experience. I remember seeing Star Wars, but I don't remember that. I remember vividly going to see Empire Strikes Back because I was 6. And I remember vividly going to see Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was 7.
So the story Jonathan's mother says when he was 3 was the first time he sat still for an hour and a half.
Well, no, she to be clear, she said I stood still because I did not sit through the entire thing.
Right.
She said we were standing, we were in the front row of the balcony at the old
Oakville, yeah.
No, it was the one on Bloor Street, Varsity. Not the Varsity.
No, University.
University, yes.
Yeah. That's where I saw it the second time I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, so we were in that great old theater, and she said I stood...
It's now a Pottery Barn for those of you flying at home.
For like, an hour and 45 minutes, I stood in the front row of the balcony with my hands on the railing and just watched the whole thing from mouth agape. So, yeah.
Well, if it was a Sunday, we probably were on the same show.
Yeah,
how about you, Hami? What's your first movie you remember?
First movie I remember seeing in theaters, man, I'm really struggling on this one. It feels too late, but I definitely remember going to see Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That would be in 88.
Oh, wow.
That feels kind of late. I feel like there must be something earlier, but it's not ringing a bell.
How old would you have been in 88?
I would be 7, and so like nothing from like 5 or 6. I'm struggling to think of in theater.
Well, for me, it was The Sound of Music, but it was like the first movie I saw in Canada. Not the first movie I saw, but first one I remember. I remember seeing The Jungle Book in that same year.
Yeah, again, I remember seeing, like, they used to, at the, like, so many movie theaters, like, during the day, they would just play, like, kids' cartoons and stuff like that. I remember my grandma taking me to see a ton of those movies, like, all the classic 1950s, 60s Disney stuff. She was just like, how am I going to amuse this hyperactive child for time? And so movies.
Well, that was the other thing too. We had the Walt Disney Wonder World of Color, and they would show a lot of those movies, the live action ones. I should probably go through my IMDb and add those. But like Toby Gillis and a bunch of them. Yeah, Pollyanna.
And that's both my mom and my grandma loved movies. So, my grandma would take me to go see things like old Peter Sellers movies, Pink Panther, the Mouse That Roared, those kinds of things. I vividly remember watching The Mouse That Roared because it was like an entire movie with grown-ups in it. I just remember being like, whoa, I'm watching a grown-up movie. And then I realized years later, no, it was a silly Peter Sellers farce, but yeah.
See, that's what happens. You talk about movies and you remember seeing a movie. I'm not going to. The other thing is when you log the movies, you can spin the dial back to when you think you saw it, right?
Yeah, I did actually find when I moved, I found a big stack of
Tickets,
concert stubs and movie stubs and all that stuff. So I have found large quantities of that stuff. Actually, I meant to send it to you because I found somewhere in here. I actually have a pile of. I actually have a pretty healthy, like there must be like 50 or 60 movie stubs here from the years. I have Star Trek Nemesis. I have both tickets here for Star Trek Generations. I have the 7:00 show and the 9:30 show. I still have the tickets. You and I saw that on November 17th.
We watched it twice?
Whatever. Yeah, just remember we watched it back to, we finished watching Generations. We watched the very first show, the first night that came out, and then we watched it and we were like, that was a lot. And you were like, I feel like I could watch that again. And I was like, we should watch that again. So we just went and got more popcorn and went watched it back to back. It's the only time I remember ever doing that, but it was really fun.
Well, back in the early days, you used to be able to go to a theater and you'd pay for one movie and then you just walk into another one or even switch movies halfway through, right? So
I did find in my movie ticket stubs here, and this again, speaking of things I'm not proud of, I found the ticket stub for the last Tom Cruise movie I think I ever watched, Mission Impossible 2.
Wow.
June 3rd, 2000. Now, I do think I saw something, I think I saw maybe the Last Samurai, I think came out after that, which was
yeah, I remember seeing, I saw that one too. That was pretty sad.
Yeah, it was not a great movie, but yeah. When I was going through this exercise, Xavier was taunting me and he was like, go back to the Tom Cruise movie, see how many you've seen, see me do this stuff. And yeah, I legit have not seen a Tom Cruise movie in I think 22 years. So that's, or at least not a new one anyways. I think the only movie that I go back and watch periodically is not for him, but in spite of him, is A Few Good Men. I have rewatched multiple times because I love Aaron Sorkin's writing.
And it's Rob Reiner too, right?
It is. It's a Rob Reiner directed movie, and the script is by Aaron Sorkin, who's one of my very favorite writers. I'm a huge West Wing fan, and
Kevin Pollak, and
the dialogue is crackling. There's a lot of small problems with that movie, but the pattern, the pacing, it's terrific. And then of course Nicholson's speech is just out of this world. So, but Cruise is, I mean, he's so terrible. He's so smarmy and gross in that movie. Yeah. It's the part that I have to kind of endure the rest of it, where he's just like, I need my bat to do my speech. I need my bat to focus. And I'm like, I'll give you a bat.
Yeah.
Freaking guy.
The Kevin Pollak stories. You ever hear him on podcast talking about making that movie?
Best. He's the best storyteller.
Yeah.
The one he does about Walter Matthau and his gambling debts. Have you heard that?
No.
He showed up. So he was in. Kevin starred with him in Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men.
Oh yeah, he was the son, right? Or the
yes. And at that point, Walter and Jack Lemmon were both getting really old, and he said, I was like starstruck. I was so excited. I was there with like freaking Walter Matthau, was like comedian, like legend, icon, whatever. And he said, I had to think of something to say to this guy because I was just so like intimidated, but so excited to meet him. And so I came over and said, hey, so excited to be working with you. It's a pretty good script, eh? He goes, script sucks. I owe my bookie $2 million.
Yeah.
He's like, that was the only reason. And he's like, I thought he was exaggerating, and I found out, no, he was a degenerate gambler, and he actually owed his bookie $2 million. Is the only reason he did the movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I love those kinds of stories about Hollywood where it's like, oh yeah, well, this is where the rubber meets the road. Yeah.
Yeah, when you have too much money. Too much money.
Yeah.
Too bad we don't have any turkey to eat, eh?
Yeah, I could go for it.
If only we had some leftover turkey.
Turkey sandwich or something, yeah.
If you guys just had the, willpower to wait until later in the year, it would just become that much more delicious. You're like, opening your Christmas presents a day early. It's like, no, stop doing that. You got to wait. The anticipation.
In fairness, I think ours makes more sense because it gives us a long weekend in October, and it's spaced out from Christmas so that you actually like whet your appetite for different things. Whereas now you just, you're going to have Christmas in like less than a month.
Well, it's like you with your birthday, right? Like it's always been a drag having the birthday and Christmas so close together, right?
Yes, it has. Thank you for, once again, pulling that scab off for me. I appreciate it. Jackass.
No worries. Well, I'm here.
Yes. My birthday that falls 2 weeks after Christmas has and continues to perpetually suck.
The best part about it is we get this giant list from his wife, and then we're like, what's left on the list?
Yeah.
Oh, but she's smart though. She apparently she edits it and she gives certain parts of the list to people based on their ability to purchase things. Right? Just for the record, I get the hard stuff.
Well, yeah, because you and Ma do a good job of actually getting making an effort, whereas most of the family's like, really? Like, you think I'm going to do that? Like, no.
Yeah. Well, it's like me. I send out a list every year, and I very rarely get what's on my list.
We never talked about the birthday gift that I found for you. I don't know if you mentioned that to Jaime, but we never covered it. We kind of skirted it when you opened it in front of Ma.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't know the full story behind it. Yeah.
So Jaime, I was trying to find something. Tim, of course, turned 65 this year. I was trying to find something that would have, just a little more meaning than usual. So I was like trolling around. I was looking around eBay, and I found this old game from the 70s. It's this little children's manual dexterity game. And the idea is that, on it has these little forest creatures, and you press the different buttons that correspond to the creatures, and it passes these, this little token from character to character, and then you basically knock it into what looks more or less like a little goal.
A tree, basically, it's a tree. Like
you're climbing the tree, you're passing this thing up the tree, and I used to have a variation on this that was Winnie the Pooh when I was a little kid, and you basically Tigger passes to Pooh, Pooh passes to Owl, Owl passes to whatever, and then into the little thing it goes. But the original version is a game called Pass the Nuts. And so big letters on it says "pass the nuts," and basically it's you pass the nut from one to the other and up into this thing. But "pass the nuts" has been a running gag between Tim and I, and also David to an extent, I think too.
Yeah.
Where it's a line from the TV show Cheers back in the 80s, where the character of Norm, I don't know if you ever watched Cheers, you might be well before your time, but the character of Norm was this, barstool settler.
Well, it's like Morn from Star Trek, right?
Exactly. He would just come in, and he would every time he walked in, they'd say, "How are you doing, Norm?" or "How's it going, Mr. Peterson?" And he would make a funny quip. And one of them was, he's talking about his wife, and he says, "Women can't live with them. Pass the nuts." And somehow that joke just stuck in all of our brains, because whenever we would talk about the stuff that would drive us nuts about our partners and or wives, including my mom.
We don't have to explain a thing. We just say to each other, "Pass the nuts."
We just say, "Pass the nuts." So whenever one of our wives is driving us nuts, we just look at each other and say, "Pass the nuts." And it goes right over their heads, and we know exactly what we're talking about. And so when I found the Pass the Nuts game, I just could not resist. So I ordered that for Tim. So now he has.
Was David in the room when you gave me the present? I can't remember.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was, but I'm sure
share it with him.
He too would get a kick out of that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that line of
Yeah, and it's all I could do not to explain it to my partner and his partner at the same time when you handed me the present. Does Sherry know the jest, or I
think we just lost him. I heard his
I
his
heard
audio
hang
go
up.
away.
All right. Well, talk to you guys later.
All right.
Bye.
I'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
So we didn't talk about, like, is this you and your partner? No family, no friends or whatever?
No, we just did the two of us.
Okay. And what about all the football watching? Aren't you guys, like, isn't that part of your constitution? You have to watch a bunch of football?
Yeah, it's expanded. It used to be just 2 games. The Detroit Lions in the morning and the Cowboys in the afternoon. The NFL expanded that to 3 games years ago. And now it's kind of 4 because they do 3 today, but tomorrow on Black Friday is a game. So it expands to fill the cup.
Apparently his dog unplugged his laptop, he says.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's all after show stuff, so I think we're good.
I didn't realize today was the 28th, right? Or it's now the 28th because it's Friday here. Because I've been waiting for the Apple sale to go on because I have a piece of Apple hardware I want to buy. Alrighty, where's the off button? I'm trying to find the off button here. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.